Play hard, try not to make mistakes, but don't worry about mistakes because there's only one thing that counts. Just win. Commitment to excellence is a commitment to excellence. The flame that would burn brightest here is the will to win, is the will to win, is the will to win.
Your commitment to excellence and your will to win will endure forever. You will not get
The great.
All right, Raider Nation, welcome back to another episode of the Will to Win podcast. This is your host, Jason Smith, a.k.a. also known as The Knight. Joining me once again from Franchise Sports Media Las Vegas is the one and only Joe Arrigo. What's up, buddy?
Man, what's going on? I'm trying to stay healthy out there right now, bro. It's crazy.
I mean, I was in the Bay in 1989 during the 89 earthquake, man. And I remember things got serious real quick. And I was in high school, so at least I was a little bit mature, but it still freaked me out. School shut down for a week. But man, nothing like this. And my kids just got kicked out of school for about 4 to 5 weeks right now. So things are getting real.
Yo, that's crazy because I'm out here in Fresno with my girl and our children, and I'm out here, working, still grinding for the franchise as always.
Right.
And she called me. I had a meeting, and she called me and was like, "Yo, like the kids got put out of school to the 13th." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And I kind of figured it was coming at some point, but for them to now, because of the state of emergency we are in as a nation, and because of the lack of resources we have right now regarding this, it's scary. And as much as it is an inconvenience for you, me, for sports fans to not have sports, for us to not know what really is going on with everyday life, leaving the store. We went to the store about an hour and a half ago, and it was crazy. I mean, it literally was one of the craziest experiences I've ever experienced in my life. The amount of people, it was crazy. So she called and said, "Hey, yo, like they're out of school to the 13th. I was pretty taken back by that. That's why I'm in one of her rooms right now, because all the kids are here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, let me grab the quiet room. It's
right.
So excuse the decor for everybody if you can see it. You know what I'm saying? So But Watts Raider, man, I feel you. He says that he works at a school and he's out the next 2 weeks. They should at least chip you guys off and pay you. I mean, it's not your fault that this thing is spreading. So I think teachers and people that work at the school districts and people that are losing money really need to get paid, because they'd still be there if it wasn't for the coronavirus. Did you see, Jay? I two things, and I know we'll get into Raider talk. Two things. One is NV Energy, Las Vegas. That's like their Edison in California. They're basically saying, like, they're not gonna, if you people have disconnect notices because of lack of payment, they're not cutting off their energy because of this, which is pretty dope. Then the other thing is, I got word, and I think the Review Journal put it out. I didn't tweet out because I was in a meeting, but I got word that the Wynn Hotel is closing their sports book and their poker tables, high-end poker tables. I think the Las Vegas Review Journal put that out. So you know it's going to get crazy if they start if they start closing down casinos, because nothing closes that down.
Well, either Disneyland, right? Universal Studios too. NBA getting shut down, all college sports down, colleges closing down. It's going to make sense that these casinos are going to have to start closing down too, because they're trying to eliminate the gathering of a lot of people. And we're seeing it affect our sports community. And that's what we're here for, man. I mean, we're less than a week away, about 4 or 5 days from the launch of the 2020 season for the NFL. We got free agency starting as early as Sunday, and all this chaos is breaking out, man. I mean, it's going to be an interesting weekend, an interesting week, and more importantly, an interesting summer.
Well, it would also, there's news that we have that we're gonna announce.
Yes, sir.
My business partner, my best friend, the other co-founder of Franchise Sports Media, TQ, recording artist. I call him Squeeze. So if you ever hear me say Squeeze, you know who I'm talking about, for those that aren't with the franchise on a regular. But TQ and I, he's coming on again. He's out and about trying to get stuff for himself, because, you never know. You never know what's going to happen, if there is going to be some type of quarantine for everybody to not leave and do stuff. So I think he's out taking care of that. He'll be joining us a little bit later in the show. But we're pleased to announce, along with Knight, that the Will to Win show, the podcast, is now going to be a member of the Franchise Sports Media family.
Yes, sir.
We're excited to have you on, brother. I mean, you've already really done so much to really help grow the brand for us and be a part of the family. And we're glad to have you with us, and to Raider Nation to have a weekly home, besides some of the stuff that we have upcoming in the next couple of weeks, to have a weekly home they can come turn to and get all the Raiders news, information, talk. You can vent, you can do anything you want. The Will to Win, Franchise Sports Media, man, that's a winning combination. We're glad to have you aboard, brother.
Thanks, man. And I'm really excited about it. Anytime that we can expand the brand one way or the other and get the message out to Raider Nation, get the news. And it's an inaugural season that they're in Las Vegas. A lot of new fans are going to be coming on board. They need to know what Raider Nation's about. I want to present a platform where you guys could call in. We're going to be launching the phone call lines here pretty quick, and get your calls and get your takes on free agency and what's going on. And you guys could ask Joe and TQ when he gets here all about Franchise Sports Media. And remember, guys, you guys got to head over there. Franchise Sports Media right here on YouTube, Franchise Sports Media on Twitter and on Facebook. Get linked up. There's going to be a lot of information coming out on free agency, the draft, the season. Vegas is going to blow up, and we're going to be a big part of that.
Emergency podcast when free agency starts. There may be like 4 or 5 podcasts a day.
Yeah,
I may be knocking those out. Yeah, but if you can, guys, and I'm just gonna ask you this, on behalf of everybody from the franchise, please go subscribe to the YouTube page so we can get this thing to blow up. There's things that we have on there that we haven't released yet that's going on there, and there's things that's on there that is pretty cool, and there's things that we want to do, but we got to get our subscribers up. So can implore if you guys can, Raider Nation, do us a big solid, and we'll take care of you on as the season goes on in this off season. But yeah, and then there's there's other things too. I mean, this is just going to be one of those moments where you as a business owner, as doing this show, and then us working with you, like we just collaborate. And then I think that's the whole thing. We're at a point now where there's so many people that want to do their own thing. I want to be the first, or I want to be this, and I want to. Like, no, we don't need all that. Let's have real talk. I think that's one of the things that make me a little bit different than everybody else, is the fact that I'm accessible. You tweet at me, you come at me, and if you see me, if I'm in Vegas or Fresno or the Inland Empire in Southern California where I'm from, or at a Raider game or UNLV game, whatever, like, I'm very approachable. Just come holler at me. Like, let's sit there. We'll have a talk. Catch me out. Let's go have a beer somewhere. Let's have a drink, whatever. And the same thing with TQ. Anybody from the franchise, no matter, we're all, you know, we want to make sure that we're one big family. And I keep saying family because that's what we are. And to have you aboard and Raider Nation, like, you have some really good content coming. There's stuff that I can't really get into quite yet because, again, that stuff they release is time sensitive. But overall, man, we have some really good content. I'll have a podcast coming out. I'm probably gonna be doing a podcast a day, especially now with this coronavirus thing. Not to mention the stuff I'll be doing with you, Jay. So this is gonna be big, and I'm excited.
Yeah, linking up, making sure that we can get the best content that we can get out there. Make sure that we hit it in multiple sources. Right now, we are on the Will to Win Facebook page. We are on the Will to Win YouTube page and the Will to Win Periscope page. But I can't stress enough, man, head over to Franchise Sports Media right now. The YouTube, the Facebook, the Twitter, link up. A ton of information is going to be coming out as early as Sunday, man. Things are going to be flying. The news wire is going to blow up as far as free agency goes. We got a lot of stuff that people are interested in, whether it's Jones from the Cowboys, Quinn. Everybody's going to wonder what's going on with Marcus Mariota. We'll get into that with you tonight. But, man, make sure that you're linked up to the Franchise Sports Media pages to get all the information as it comes out.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. So let's talk about that. So I can tell you from talking to my NFL people, the people I have working with the NFL, with various NFL organizations, with the Raiders, that as of right now, it's going to be business as usual. They are not going to change what's going on. You're looking at a situation where tomorrow, which is Saturday, there will be a CBA vote. That vote will be either yay or nay. That's when it cuts off. We'll know exactly basically what's going to happen from there. A lot of business is being put on hold because of the lack of certainty with the CBA. Talking to some people, all I'm going to say is nobody really knows. I'm of the belief that the CBA will be passed, and it will be passed tomorrow. I think one of the best things that the NFLPA did was elect J.C. Tretter, their president. Now, J.C. Tretter is with the Cleveland Browns. He's their center. He's a very good center. Originally got drafted by the Green Bay Packers out of Cornell, where he majored in business labor or industrial labor relations. So his reason he went to college at an Ivy League school was for this situation, for collective bargaining agreements, looking over contracts. And what made him more electable than a Michael Thomas from the Saints or a Russell Okun, now of the Titans, because he got traded from the Chargers. What makes him more accessible and a better choice was because he didn't take a side. He actually released a series of tweets prior to him being elected president and after, going through step by step what each thing of the CBA, what each individual thing of the CBA was, and he didn't tell you what his opinion was. He gives you the positive and the negative effects of it. So he kind of stayed down the middle. He was neutral. That's what made him a better choice than anybody else, because he wasn't a hard yes and he wasn't a hard no. He wants to hear their voices, and I think a lot of players respect that. They also have guys like Richard Sherman on there. Benjamin Watson comes back. Those are guys, again, very intelligent guys that understand the ins and outs of contractual law, and then understands the ins and outs of what players really want. Now, I can tell you from a personal standpoint, and I don't know how you feel, Jade. I want to get how you feel. Mm-hmm. For me, if I'm a player and I'm voting for the CBA, the two things that I would be unwavering for, like they had to have these two things, and I would be undaunted. I would not vote at all for it if these two things were not in there, which is the first thing is health care for the rest of my life. Right. These guys are putting their health on the line week in and week out. How many men have injuries that they sustained through playing football? And yes, it is their choice and they make a good living, but that doesn't mean they have the health care. My brother played in the NFL for almost 6 years. He played in Canada for another 4 or 5 years. This is a man that has some issues that he wouldn't have if he had a regular 9-to-5 job. So That would be the first thing. The second thing would, because they want to go to that 17th game and they only want to have one team, the number one seed in that conference, to get a bye week for the playoffs. I would want a 50-50 revenue split. It would have those two things would have to happen, because there's no way I'm going to play an extra game or an extra 2 games in some instances and risk my body even further and not be able to get the rewards of that. So those are the two things. Me personally, the healthcare thing is the most important, and you got to have some long-term sustainability. I actually would have fought for guaranteed contracts as well in certain instances, but I don't think the NFLPA as a whole, with DeMaurice Smith as their president, I don't think they're strong enough to get that.
Well, I agree. And the one thing I could tell everybody from being inside a union before and being part of the grocery business and dealing with all kinds of union contracts before I stepped out of the union was that there's never going to be a winning side. The idea for bargaining agreements is to bargain out what's going to be best for everybody as a whole. There's going to be some that you're going to lose here, some are going to have to give up some here, and that's just the way it is. But you're right, man. Number one, healthcare is number one. I mean, I think that should be number one for everybody, no matter what business you're in. You got to make sure that look what we're going through right now. You need healthcare. That's number one. Number two, the 50-50 revenue split, man, that's huge, because the NFL has gone on a very long time of profiting off their TV deals, and adding playoff games, adding an extra game to the season, that's going to bring ton of dollars. There's going to be bidding wars to get those games and get those games locked down. We got internet stuff going on. I'm part of the NFL Game Pass. They're making money hand over fist. So I think it's only fair if you're going to ask these guys to extend their bodies. And I know some people think, well, I mean, what's one more week? Trust me, man, these guys grind for 16 weeks as it is. And then if you're lucky enough to be in the playoffs, that's even a much harder situation, because the intensity levels way up. I mean, their bodies are just going through it. Stress is another part of it. So I think that's key too. Also, I know that they try to throw the marijuana thing in there to kind of sweeten the deal for most of these players, but it's not going to work. They need to give up the 50-50 and the marijuana, because that's part of the healthcare at this point. These guys are getting addicted to pills and shots, and it's just better now. It's getting legal. More and more states are picking it up. More and more counties are picking it up. Just relieve the stress of having to pee in a cup all the time and worry about your health and how you're feeling, and just get this thing done. It's the best sport to watch on TV. It's the most action. It's the most popular. Don't ruin it over a few $1 million.
Well, yeah, and at the end of the day, they're trying to institute some other rules, like the whole no onside kick. Look, that's lame. You got to keep an onside kick. The 4th and 15, that's stupid. I do like what the XFL did for kickoffs, though.
That's
where you have the team. Yeah, I like that. That way it keeps kickoffs, but it does limit the impact that you're coming down if you're a gunner or if you're one of the guys in the wedge blocking. So that is something personally that I would like to see instituted. I believe there's going to be an eye in the sky. I do think they're going to try continue replay with pass interference, but they're going to have a better understanding now of what it is that is pass interference, offense or defensively. But I'd also like to see some replays come from above. Not just a flag coming from a side judge and then a coach challenge. I want to see, if it's something that's egregious, I want to see a replay happen. Like, okay, this comes from New York, or this comes from the guy eye in the sky, and we're going to take a hard look at it. But Watts Rader says, he thinks coaches are going to rest players if they go to 17 games. I agree, and I think they already do. Look at that's why if you're in fantasy sports, you don't play your team you don't go to the final week of the season, because guys are going to get rest before they go into the playoffs. So I actually think that a 17 game would give guys more of a buy, expand the rosters a little bit more, which is what they want to do. I don't know enough about labor law to sit there and say that this is a good deal or a bad deal for the players. I do know they have union reps. I do know they have guys like Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson and Maurice Pouncey that are saying, no, this isn't a good deal. But there are other guys who are saying this is a great deal or a good deal for players that aren't superstars, for the players that are in there doing the things that they need to do, the average Joes, so to speak. That's the guy that you really have to look out for, the common player, because not everybody's going to get that $100 million, $200, $300 million. That's going to happen down the road, but they're not going to get those guaranteed deals. They're not going to get the deal that Patrick Mahomes is going to get. They're going to get a deal. I mean, let's look at Derek Carr, for example. It's $18.5 million, $18.9 million this year. It's non-guaranteed. The Raiders could cut him, and it doesn't affect their cap at all, and he walks away with nothing. So they have to worry about the guys that are, let's say, a Ingold from the Raiders. Let's say a Keyshawn Nixon, an undrafted rookie that comes in, or guys that are taken in the middle rounds that are maybe are role players. Those are the guys this deal is made to try to benefit, not necessarily the guys at the top end like the NBA did with their deal, where Chris Paul in particular was very instrumental in making that CBA help superstars and guys that get the most money they can, and not really care about how it affects the guys at the back end of the roster. The NFL players and their reps did a pretty good job of trying to take care of the entire roster. So it wouldn't be surprising to me if Saturday you see the CBA passed, and then you also turn around and you see on Sunday a lot of these deals starting to get done. The end of the day, it comes down to the CBA getting passed because business is on hold. $200 to $208 million is where the salary cap is going to go up. That's a big jump when you really, really look at what the NFL is trying to do. They want to create some more parity. They want to create some more opportunity for players to make more money. But at the same time, they also have to be very cognizant and aware of not pricing people out. So let's take the Raiders, for instance. They're 59 points, like 5'9" or 6'9" underneath the salary cap. It jumps to $208 million. And let's just say they do trade or release Jackson and save almost $10 million there. Now you're at almost $70 million of cap space. They're already going to go big game hunting for free agents. Make no mistake about it. They're going to go try to get some big guys. I'll say a couple names later on in the show. But the other thing you got to be aware of is you still got to fill out that roster. And you still got to have X amount of money allotted just for your draft picks. So that, let's say $69 million of cap space that they may have, or even if it's 59, they can't use $57 million of cap space because they still got to have X amount of money to sign their rookie class. So all that comes into play. The end of the day, the CBA most likely, from what I'm hearing, will get done. And if that's actually the case, Sunday at about 1:00, you're going to start hearing the tampering period start to kick off. And once that happens, you're going to start hearing the rumors. This guy is going to be visiting Oakland at this time. This guy's going to be visiting, this guy's going to be visiting Las Vegas at this time. This guy's going to be visiting Tampa Bay at this time, or San Francisco, or Green Bay, or Los Angeles, or insert city. There's going to be guys who are already on planes and in those areas when Tuesday hits, when free agency hits. They're already going to be there, and they're going to be ready to rock and roll. So that's going to be the interesting part of everything. Will the Raiders make a big move? And I believe they're going to make a few. I think that we're going to start to see more and more of the Raiders, more names coming out. You're going to start hearing more names coming out when it comes to the Raiders. You're going to start hearing guys like a name to watch. I'll give you a name to watch now, and when Knight gets back on, there's some difficulties on his end. So just so you know, when free agency hits, the name to watch for the Oakland Raiders is middle linebacker from the Green Bay Packers, Blake Martinez. He's out of Stanford. He led the NFL in tackles last year. He's top 2 or 3 the last couple years. He's been relatively injury prone, but he's not as athletic as you would want as in linebackers today. And he's a guy that will make tackles, but if you want that guy, the Isaiah Simmons type, or Luke Kuechly, one of those. He's not that type of guy. He's a guy that makes a lot of tackles. He's very smart, understands defense, understands the way the defense needs to be ran. He's a guy to keep an eye on for the Raiders. And again, they need all the help they can at linebacker. They had Kirksey in there a couple of days ago, and he left without a contract. They kind of kicked tires on him. Kind of wanted to see what exactly he was about. Then they also, only have Markel Lee. That's the only linebacker on the roster with Tahir Whitehead being released. Hat tip to Vic Tafur from The Athletic for letting that out weeks ago. And then you also have Vontaze Burfict. Now, I know some people in the organization would love to have Burfict back, in part because he understands Gunther's defense. He understands what he brings. He also understands he's been fined over $4 million in his career and has been suspended for what would be equal or more than one league year. He knows he has to change the way he plays football. So in order for him to do that, he's a guy that would probably you need to keep an eye on to come back, but it had to be at a reduced rate. Excuse me. Watch Raider says Blake Martinez needs more speed, but they need depth. He's not coming in to be a depth guy. Blake Martinez is a guy that we got music in the background. Blake Martinez is a guy that's expected to come in and start. He's expected to be a guy to come in and play right away.
Muted.
And get close to $10 million. That's what that's what the
Unmuted.
For that's the asking price. Ask the asking price for Blake Martinez is going to start off at $10 million. But it's not like you have any other linebackers out there. You could get Littleton from the Rams, but I hear that there's a couple clubs that's interested in him that are they're going to pay a little more. There's the dude, I forget his name off the top of my head. I had it. It's in the WWJD number 7 on Franchise Sports Media. But he's from the Flowers, I believe his name is, from the Atlanta Falcons. He's a linebacker, speed guy. Him and Littleton are the type of guys that the Raiders would want to bring in. They're younger, especially the kid from the Falcons. He's 24 years old. So he's a younger guy, but at the same time, you know what you're getting with Martinez. He's a guy that's playing on teams that's won. So I think Martinez is the name. And there's also the factor of his former college coach is the defensive coordinator for UNLV. And that's a guy that he still has a very strong relationship with. I have a strong belief, and I'm not saying it's happening, but you can tweet it out, say I put it out there, or I have a strong belief that Blake Martinez will be a Las Vegas Raider Tuesday or Wednesday. I believe, and I think they're going to go hard at linebackers. Another name to watch is safety Anthony Harris from the Minnesota Vikings. He's a guy that had 6 interceptions last year. Not only did he have 6 interceptions, he did it on a Viking team that the secondary wasn't great. So he was a guy that was really playing above and beyond. The Vikings also released their former first-round quarterback corner. It's one of those things that Anthony Harris could come in and play next to Jonathan Abram and be a guy that really, truly is a difference maker on the back end, which is what's needed. So I feel like he's a guy to keep an eye on. Blake Martinez, Byron Jones. You're looking at, like, I think Mike Garafolo reported, or Tom Pelissaro from the NFL Network, you're looking at $17 to $19 million a year for him. Xavier Rhodes, thank you, Watts. That's what I was thinking about, the corner. He's a guy to keep an eye on too. But Chris Harris is a guy I think the Raiders have major. You can have Harris and Blake Martinez to upgrade the defense. That in itself is a win for the Raiders. And then Malik Collins from the Cowboys. That's another name to keep an eye on. Defensive tackle up front. Put him next to Mo Hurst, next to Klee, and next to Mad Max. Now you got action up front. You can have some depth on the outside. You got Arden Key coming back. Those are the type of moves that you're going to see the Raiders make, I think, in free agency. And then when it gets to the draft, if a lot of the needs are taken care of already, that's when you're going to see them address those other needs right in the draft. Let's say they don't go sign a receiver. You're looking at a Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, somebody there. Those are the types that you can see that thing. If they don't, let's say they go get Robbie Anderson or they make a trade for Stephon Diggs or somebody like that. Now you can look at the linebacker spot and you can maybe take Kenneth Murray at 12 and then get another receiver, let's say Justin Jefferson at 19, or even a corner at 19, or flipping and say a corner at 12 and Murray or Queen at 19. Now you have something you're working with there. I think we're going to see a lot more us knowing exactly what the Raiders are going to do in the draft after free agency takes place.
All right. Sorry about the hold up, man. Is everything back and running?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, cool, man. Power outage. What a timing. All right. Thanks for holding it down. So the phone lines are open, Raider Nation. 253-993-3651 is the number. 253-993-3651. Go ahead and give us a call. Get in part of the conversation and ask your questions.
Hit us up. It's always good to talk with you. Jalen Hurts, Watts Raider. You know what? He's a guy that I think made himself some money at the combine. Threw the ball better than I expected. I'll be the first to admit that. I didn't think much of him as a thrower, as a passer at Alabama. In part, that's why he lost his job to Tua Tagovailoa. But what ends up happening is he goes to the quarterback whisperer and can really sling the rock. To take him at 12 or 19, there's no way in hell I'm going to do that. Now, am I picking the third round, or if I can move back up into round 2? Absolutely. But there's no way in hell I'm going to take him that early in the draft. And keep this in mind, not you teased it earlier.
Yep.
The Raiders could be going and signing Marcus Mariota to back up Derek Carr.
Yeah, and I talked about that the other night, but I had some audio issues then too. But I think that is something that I was hoping for, not necessarily Marcus Mariota in particular, but I always believed that Derek Carr was the best option, knowing Gruden's systems moving forward, and then bring in some competition not only to push him, but as a contingency plan if things do go south and they feel like they need to move on. It doesn't make any sense to sell it out for a 43-year-old quarterback and a rookie quarterback and go into an inaugural season in a big stadium, new city, all the hype. It just makes sense. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And I don't think it's fully broke there yet.
No, I agree. And we talked about that the last time we did the show. I don't think what I think happens, I'm going to go conspiracy theorist when it comes to Brady. I think Brady ends up with the 49ers and Garoppolo gets traded back to the Patriots for a few thirds, maybe a second and 2/3. I think you see something like that. I don't see Brady in silver and black. Brady wants to go somewhere where he can win right away. And again, he's going against Father Time. The one player I thought would be indestructible against Father Time, with my own eyes, I witnessed Father Time take him down. And it was painful to watch, from watching him as a player and as a friend. And that was Kobe Bryant.
Yep.
And I can see this, LeBron will be the next one that comes to mind. I think that at the end of the day, Marcus Mariota could come in. Mayock loved him. He had him as the number 1 quarterback ahead of Jameis Winston coming out.
Absolutely. I remember that.
So I could see Mayock making a move for Mariota. And then again, I know Murray, people are saying he's not making it past the second round. I never said he would. Trade up and get him. You have collateral to do that. You have third round picks. You can make those moves. You could package some things together. You could package a player, let's say a Gabe Jackson and a fourth or a fifth or whatever, and pick up a second round pick. You could do some. You could move around a little bit. So I definitely think Hurts is in play. Again, you could even move back from 19 a few spots and pick up a second. Let's say you have a team that desperately wants an offensive lineman, or if you desperately wants one of these receivers, top receivers, that would be the guy. That would be a team that would probably call you up to move. So it just takes a team to fall in love with one player to pull the trigger on something like that. So, and that's the other thing. Keep this in mind. And I know, and I see it in the chat where saying he won't cost that much. You don't know what these guys. I mean, look at 4 or 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever, people thought Derek Carr's contract was absorbent. They thought it was ridiculously high for him.
Yep.
I can't believe $25 million for this quarterback after one good year, and you're banking on potential. But now you look at it 3 years later, and it's non-guaranteed $18 million. You could cut him in, and it is all how things are worded, and that comes down to the front office, and they do a great job, and they've done a great job of working some of these contracts.
And two, I mean, some of these rookie quarterbacks come in are going to be making close to what he's getting anyway. I mean, he's at the low. Was what, top 10 right now? I think the last time I looked, he was in the top 10.
No, I think he's like 12 or 13, something like that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's pretty favorable at this point, and I know people are upset like he hasn't earned what we already paid him. But come on, man, there were some bad teams, dude. I mean, it takes some time. Like I always say, if you really look at the tape, screw the numbers and all that. I mean, he has all the tools. He has the arm. He has the brain. He has the team. The team likes him. I do believe that maybe through all the coaching stuff and some of the players and all that, I think that he is missing a little something at the moment. But I mean, there's plenty of guys that find that fire. I mean, we could talk about the not late great, but as far as a Raider, Jim Plunkett. I mean, he went through New England. He went through San Francisco. We talked about that, man. And all of a sudden he comes to the Raiders and he wins 2 Super Bowls. At any point in time, a player can just find that groove and everything and all the right pieces, and then watch out. And Cars could, and let's not making excuses and not me predict anything, but this guy has that kind of talent. Bringing in a Marcus Mariota is a backup plan. Getting your hands on a Jalen Hurts is another contingency plan, and that's smart football, in my opinion. I think that's what the Raiders are up to. I agree.
That's real. And Steven Johnson says, Mariota would push Carr. I tend to agree with that. And I think you need that. When you look at great NFL teams, look at when Brady took over New England, he pushed Bledsoe. Bledsoe, wasn't happy about it, but there was that there. When you look at Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, especially towards the tail end of Favre's career in Green Bay, Rodgers was pushing Favre, and you've seen what happened there. All that's Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees. There's examples of that there. But the bottom line is, no matter what, whoever the quarterback is, he needs a number 1 wide receiver. He needs another weapon or two, not just the ones that he has currently. No quarterback's going to come in. You could bring in Patrick Mahomes to this receiving corps, and he's not going to put up the numbers he puts up in Kansas City because there's not those type of athletes across the board. You have it in Waller. Tyrell Williams is a freak, but he's a number 2 guy at best, maybe a 1B, but you don't have that number 1 guy. Hunter Renfrow, God bless him. He's a slot receiver. He's your third down. He's your safety blanket. You don't have those other guys to make them go off defenses go, damn, we need to stop him. We put on film. We got to keep somebody over the top of him and stop this dude. There's none of that. It's like, okay, we can man up across the board. We could bracket Waller. That's what we'll bracket Waller. They need to be able, whoever it is at quarterback, but meaning they, and even Gruden for that matter, to be able to have a receiver or two that could get open and really make plays down the field.
And I agree. And I don't care who it is. It could be Lamb, it could be Judy, it could be Ruggs. I don't care. Either one of those guys are going to make a difference. And you bring a guy like that in, either one of those three, it's going to free up Williams to make more plays down the field. And it's going to get Renfrow the angles he needs. Because it wasn't speed you saw last year. It was the right angle in a slant, catching the ball to the house. It wasn't his speed that got him there. You know what I mean? Like, so you get that speed on the outside. It opens up the middle. You got Josh Jacobs that's already loading 7 in the box. It changes the way that the whole offense is going to play, especially Derek Carr.
No doubt. And that's the other thing for me. I'm a Jerry Jeudy guy. I think he's the best receiver in this class. CeeDee Lamb is right there. But you know what? The receiver I probably like the most out of everybody, and again, I think Jeudy and Lamb to me are the top 2, but the receiver I think has got the biggest upside, the guy that I think would be an absolute dog in this offense, is Jefferson from LSU.
Okay.
He, as a former receiver, watching him, the way he runs routes, the way he sets guys up, the way he plays fast, he runs fast at the combine. The guy is just a specimen. And because he didn't run the 4.2 4.28 because
Yep.
he wasn't in an offense that has 2 first-round wide receivers, a first-round quarterback, probably a first-round offensive lineman, and whatnot, because he wasn't in an offense where you had back-to-back Heisman Trophy winners, and then you have a guy that's slinging the ball out there. Because he had, albeit he's on LSU, there were no slouch winning the national title, but he had guys around him that made things different. I really, really like what Jefferson did. And you know what? And I like T. Higgins. He's not going to test well, but when you watch him on tape, he does things on tape that's just ungodly. Like his numbers at this pro day yesterday or on Thursday weren't that great. I was kind of disappointed in him, but that's going to make a team in the bottom half of the first round really happy getting a guy like him. He's another one. He's a straight dog.
There's a lot of them in this draft. I don't think you really go wrong as long as Mayock is evaluating the right player for this system, and they collaborate correctly. I think it's a win-win no matter what. The power went out, and I lost a lot of the conversation that you were holding down. I was talking linebackers the other night, and I was talking about bringing Burfict back, going after Josh Sherbert. Do you think that's a possibility, or did you already talk about that? Or
I didn't talk about that. Joe Sherbert is a guy from Cleveland. He's an inside backer, and he's a guy that just makes plays. I was told the name to watch is Blake Martinez from the Green Bay Packers. Okay. He's the guy that Blake is the guy. Yeah, Blake. I heard Blake's that guy. Bringing Burfict back could be an option, but I think they want to kind of see what else is out there. I mean, having Kirksey in on Wednesday or whatnot after he was released from Cleveland. He's a guy that may not cost a lot. He's gonna cost you some money because he's been hurt the last 2 years. But when you talk about locker room guy, talking about a guy to set a culture, he's a guy to keep an eye on. And it depends what they want to do. I mean, look, you could go out there and draft or sign, let's say, a Blake Martinez or a Joe Sherbert, and then go get an outside backer, or 2 in this draft. You can go get a Murray or a Queen in this draft and play him at the will. That's an option too. So I think what's going to end up happening is what you see in free agency is going to kind of like help give you direction in the draft on which way they're going.
Exactly. And I was talking about Murray, and I always give credit where credit's due. And this is where I got this information. This is where it finally came to light for me. It was a guy named Chris Plank, and it was on your boy Q's podcast, Locked On Raiders podcast. He had him on. I was talking to him. Yeah, well, I didn't know you knew Chris. I know you knew Q. But I've been on his national radio show on Fox a lot. Nice. Chris Plank's my guy. He's an Oklahoma guy too. Yeah, he was an Oklahoma guy, and he was breaking it down big. And so I was learning a lot about Murray, a converted safety to an outside backer, and that moved inside and played inside as well. When I heard that, it pretty much sealed the deal for me. This is a hybrid league, passing offense. Here's a guy that played safety, outside backer, inside backer. I think that he's going to have all the tools that we need. And I think the fact that people are saying that he can't cover the pass is even more obvious that if he played safety, I mean, he knows how to get the angles and look for the ball. He could drop in coverage and be just fine. I think he's a sleeper here.
It's not that he can't cover the pass. I think what happens with him, what I see on film and what I talk to scouts about him, they think the biggest knock on him is it's not that he doesn't process things fast. He processes it fast, and he's very reactionary, and sometimes he gets in his own way because he's so athletic and he can do so much. And really, over Oklahoma, if we're going to be honest, when's the last time Oklahoma really put out a great linebacker in their history? You have Bosworth, that was an average NFL linebacker. Okay?
We all know Bosworth in the nation, man.
Right, but and Bo ran over him at the goal line. It wasn't the one where Bo ran around him and ran through the Kingdome out to Tacoma, made a left, and then came back. Right. And then they had a guy named Torrance Marshall. He was the middle linebacker when Bob Stoops was the coach, and they won a national. He flamed out. He wasn't a guy other than a special teams guy, super athletic. But Oklahoma hasn't really put out great linebackers. But I think Murray is different in the sense where the way it goes back to his upbringing, how he was raised. And see, when I look at people, I look at their whole story because that tells you more about them than what you necessarily see on film or the highlight clips that you see on the people get on YouTube or Huddle or whatever, wherever they're watching it. So I think with him having 3 siblings that were adopted and all special needs,
dude, that
helping take
rings
care
home
of
to me,
them.
man. That rings home to me big time.
Exactly. Like when you hear his story, that to me is one of the reasons why I take a shot on him, at 12. If I feel I can get a receiver at 19, if I can get like Jefferson at 19, Murray and Jefferson, I think it's a win for the Raiders. But I still feel they have to address the defensive tackle position. Malik Collins from the Cowboys is a guy that I would definitely keep a big time ear on, and keep an eye on him, just because his familiarity with Rod Marinelli,
Absolutely,
the new defensive line coach. 2, the guy is a dog, and the Cowboys would like to keep him, but they're not going to have the money to pay him. So they're letting Byron Jones go. They're going to re-sign Dak. They're going to re-sign Cooper. There's guys that they can't afford to keep everybody. He's the guy that's going to be let go. He's the guy to watch. And another linebacker is Seth Vigil from the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay.
Again, familiarity with Gunther. He's a free agent. He's a guy that he won't be at the top end, like day 1, day 2, but he could be like day 3, day 4, day 5 type free agent, where they do that first like 3 or 4 days of just crazy spending money, where there's teams are just pissing their money away in a lot of instances, and then he gets to the next step, where it's those next guys where you're like, well, where did this guy come from? And you've seen it last year with Zendarius Smith and Preston Smith. Both of them they got really good contracts, but it wasn't day 1, it was day 2. Amos was another one. So, they all went to the same team, but their contracts didn't put them at the very top of the bracket, but they still got paid well, and those guys outperformed their contracts last season alone.
Yeah, and I'm going to reiterate, guys, hey, phone lines are open. The number is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. 253-993-3651 is the number. 253-993-3651. Go ahead, give us a call, ask a question. But yeah, dude, I defensive end, defensive tackle, cornerback, and obviously we need linebacker help like crazy because we're getting rid of everybody. What do you think about the cornerback situation? What do you think about Byron Jones, and what do you think about a guy like Worley coming back?
I know the Raiders, and it's been reported they have interest in Byron Jones. I think Chris Harris is more likely. No familiarity with the conference, older guy, has plays with a chip on his shoulder, huh?
Better price probably too.
Yeah, and he's gonna be more affordable. I don't like saying cheap because cheap, diminishes.
Yeah, he'll get above average for sure, but yeah, he won't cost Byron Jones money.
But at the end of the day, you're looking at guys that are, probably the top 2 cornerbacks in this free agent group. I think Chris Jones is a better fit. I think Xavier Rhodes would be another one to keep an eye on, and Trumaine Johnson, both long corners, boundary corners, something that's needed out there. As far as Worley, nah. Look, I said this before. I made it very clear, and I am biased because he is a friend of mine. I've known him for at least 4 years.
Oh, really?
I'm all for Keyshawn Nixon taking over the slot. Him and LaMarcus Joyner. I
agree with that, but I also remember that Worley was rumored and played a little bit of safety last year. So I like his versatility across the field, even if he's, for depth. I don't think he's going to be
safety. You can put LaMarcus
Joyner, and he's going to also be up in the slot. I mean, if we get Chris Johnson, he'd be slot too, but you're going to want some of these guys, especially Chris Harris at his age. Joyner might still be playing up at the line a little bit too.
Well, yeah, he would be. I think for me, the one name to watch safety wise would be Anthony Harris from the Vikings. He's a guy, 6 interceptions. He's going to get paid. He's a guy that I think, that's going to make some serious coin. And he's a guy that fits. He's a playmaker on the back end, which will allow Abram to do what Abram does, which is be a heat-seeking missile and make receivers turn their head and keep their head on a swivel every time they're trying to come across the middle. So I think Harris as a safety, Anthony Harris, Abram, Chris Harris, and then let's say you sign a Malik Collins and you bring in a Vigil, or you bring in a Blake Martinez.
Mm-hmm.
That's now you have something, as Q likes to say, on his podcast that he does and on our podcast that we do together, Q&A. Now you're cooking with fish grease.
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah. There's a bunch of alpha males.
I got an NFL guy texting me.
Yeah.
Hold on, keep going. I'm gonna respond back. Keep going.
You're good. It's just like he says too, the alpha males. That's a lot of alpha males right there. So, and I think that's what our defense needs. It needs a little bit of character and it needs a little bit of swagger. We're not looking to change, and build Rome up in one day. We just need some players to come here, make some plays, get the ball back, especially against the Chiefs, man. We got to be able to stop them at least 2 or 3 times a game solidly, and the offense has got to be able to answer. That's why it's important that we get that number 1 receiver on the outside. I think all the other pieces are in place. Yep, you're going to want to look into maybe another backup bruiser type running back to complement Jacobs, but you got a guy like Rashard that can catch the ball out of the backfield. So we address the wide receiver position, maybe get a backup running back to complement Jacobs a little bit more, especially down at the goal line area. Our offense looks good. I'm really excited about what this offense has to offer. It's the defense that we know that we got to add pieces and really build up. And I think that we're in a perfect opportunity. I think the right players are there for free agency. That's going to kick it off. And like Joe was saying earlier, that's really going to set up what we're going to see Mayock and company do in this draft. If we get the right linebackers in place in free agency, if we go out and we pick up a guy like Chris Harris, you start plugging in some of these players and it kind of starts opening up the board a little bit more.
I would agree. I would agree. And I would also just add, I think I wouldn't be surprised if Gabe Jackson was dealt. I know that
they're pushing that hard. I think so too.
You're saving almost $10 million against the cap. $9.6 million pushes you to almost $70 million to spend some money. Good came in and didn't play bad last year. And you have Hudson and Incognito locked in at the other two at the center and guard spot respectively. And I wasn't a big Colton Miller guy, to be very real. I thought
he's holding his own.
Yeah, I thought, and I went back and I was hard on him. I was hard on him going into last year, calling him a turnstile. And I went back and I got reminded that I think it was after week 4 his rookie year, he got hurt. And that's when he had the problems. That's when he was really just played bad football. But before that, he was really good at the tackle spot. Last year, he remained healthy for the most part, and he had a really, really good year. And it was a great jump year 1 to year 2. Now, I want to see, now's the biggest jump year 2 to year 3. And I want to see where he's at. And then, you got the big man on the other side. He's a stud, and you got Big TB over there.
Yep.
And I was with him when the Raiders did their renaming to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah.
And standing next to him and my little 5'5.5" self, I'm looking up like, God, dog, this guy's. It's almost like I was looking up at Shaq when I was covering the Lakers. So, but he was a big dude, but he's another guy. He earned every penny of his contract.
Absolutely.
So I think the offensive line is going to be fine. That's why I think they feel like Jackson would be expendable for that price tag. And that's a guy that still is well regarded. Look, Baltimore needs a left guard.
Yep.
The Jets are going to need an interior lineman. Those are guys, and the Jets are armed with a bunch of picks. That could be a team you call and maybe you get a pick for.
And this is where it makes sense. This even ties in and goes back to Marcus Mariota. You get a guy like Marcus Mariota, you're able to deal Jackson, then you make a play for Jalen Hurts. But if you get Mariota, it takes the pressure off of even getting Jalen Hurts. If he's there, cool. If he's not, you still got your quarterbacks in place and you're fine. Do you think this is going to be the only year you're going to have this many good quarterbacks coming out of college at this point? There's going to be a few more down the road. So this solidifies our quarterback room. You maybe get a draft pick, but if you don't, you still got a solid offensive line and you move forward. This is good business right here.
But you got to keep this out though. You got to keep this in mind. If the Raiders don't get good quarterback play this year, and let's say they do take a step back, you got Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields coming out next year.
Right.
Lawrence should be the number 1 pick. Fields, I have more doubts than I do Lawrence. He's a guy that I definitely would, okay, if that's the case, then we're going to tank for the Tiger. Like that would be the way I go. But I have a sneaky feeling that Derek Carr is going to have a really good year this year. I think he's really going to shut a lot of the doubters up and a lot of the naysayers that feel that he's not that guy. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. At the same time, it may be time for him to move on and get a fresh start. But I know around the league, he's well regarded.
Absolutely, because again, I mean, numbers aside, guys, I know a lot of people want to play the numbers, and I know a lot of people want to play the wins and losses. I mean, the last time I looked, this was an absolute team sport. I still believe it's a team sport. And when you look at the tape and you look at his ability to throw the deep ball, and if it doesn't throw it enough, he still has that arm. He has all the intangibles. We've seen him come back in the fourth quarter. He plays well composed when he needs to. He just needs to put it all together. And like Joe said, this literally could be the year. We have all the phone lines working. I know the other night I had some difficulties, but those problems are fixed. We got our first caller. So as you come in, you'll hear your mic get unmuted, and I will announce you in, and then once you hear that your mic has been unmuted, you know it's going to be you that's calling. So we're going to go ahead and take our first caller. Caller, you're on the air. Welcome to the Will to Win. Who are we talking to?
How you doing? This is D. I'm calling from Tennessee.
What's going on, D?
Fan.
What's going on, brother?
Love the show. How you doing, brother? I've been following you for a long time, and I'm glad that you came back to YouTube. So
I appreciate that, brother.
I'm thankful for that.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking forward to I've been listening to what you guys been saying, and my only gripe with Carr, it just seemed like ever since 2016, he hasn't had that fire since he hadn't gotten paid the year following. And I'm just really concerned because, I mean, if you look at his numbers, of course, he didn't have a lot of weapons. But also, I think Josh Jacobs really saved Derek Carr this past year. And a lot of people is not acknowledging that fact that this rookie running back came in and took a lot of pressure off Carr and really helped Carr. That's why his completion percentage is a lot higher, like it is now. And I say John Gruden really needs to get some help for coaching because the offensive play calling in the second half, I can't put that on Carr a lot because he's asking him to dink and dunk a lot during the second half when we really need to score a point. So I really kind of put the blame on the quarterback and the coach, just like it's supposed to be. I mean, I know our defense always been trash. I mean, this haven't been no secret. Even Kansas City, they defense trash, but they was able to make stops, but their offense is so great that they can win games. And we just need to get something. We need something in order to win the Super Bowl. I feel like we can win the Super Bowl. We just need to make some key changes with the linebacker position because it seems like we don't even like to draft linebackers at all. We really need to get a linebacker because I would have loved for us to get Roquan Smith a couple years ago in the draft. I thought he would be great for us, but we didn't get him. But I just think we need to show up that middle linebacker position and move LaMarcus Joyner back to free safety because he is not a cornerback, a slot cornerback. He be getting toasted, and I don't think he really got the lateral quickness to keep up with these quick slot corners. So just put him at free safety, put Abram at strong safety, and if we can get a cornerback, please don't get Byron Jones because we're gonna overpay for him. But I would love for us to get another corner, a middle linebacker, and at least a pass rusher. And if we keep Carr, we're gonna have to get at least two more weapons on offense. And that's all I want to say, brother.
All right, D.
More blessings to y'all. Y'all stay safe and keep your hands clean.
You too, brother.
Raider Nation, go.
Raider Nation for life, brother. We'll answer this off air, brother. All right. So this he brought up a good point, and this is what I was saying, man. Like when it comes to Derek Carr, and he made up a lot of good points that I talked to you, man, like maybe a month ago. I'm going to address the Carr thing first and Jacobs. If you go back and look at all the film back in 2016 when I was still doing this before I left, I was pounding the table for Carr, and I've been saying even back since 2015, he needed a running game. He needed that running game. He needed the play action pass, and they needed to get him out of shotgun. So far, Jacobs gave him that. They put him under center more in Gruden's offense, and So I saw what I saw last year is what I expected back in 2015 and 2016 with a solid running game. So as far as that goes, that a running back has always been a quarterback's best friend, in my opinion, outside of obviously the offensive line. But you hit a point on Gruden. Gruden, even back in his early stint here with the Raiders, he plays old school football. Get the lead, run the rock. That's what he does. And I personally agree in today's NFL. I believe it still works, but I do believe that Gruden needs to unloosen them chains a little bit and be a little bit more aggressive in the third and fourth quarter, even with the lead. But I will also say too that Carr needs to grow a pair too. Gannon used to do it too, man. And I think they know that Carr's lacking that fire, whatever that he had in 2016. And I think that's why a guy like Marcus Mariota changes that, Raider D. I really believe it. What do you think, Joe?
See, I first of all, D, that was a phenomenal call. You nailed a lot of things that I would agree. I want to say, before I get to Carr, I'll say this about Roquan Smith. McGlinchey was the first round pick by the 49ers at, I believe he was at 9 or 10, and Roquan Smith went 7. Those were the top 2 guys on the Raiders draft board, with Roquan Smith being the first. He would have been the pick if he was there. Okay. Yeah. So they were on the same page as you. So, those guys only come along once in a blue moon. And then it obviously ended up with Colt Miller. As far as I agree, when you have a great running game or a guy that can take pressure off the quarterback, that definitely helps him. And Jacobs was, and I've wrote about it on Franchise, talking about the Raiders giving out game balls. Jacobs got to get down. I think I did half the season or a little more than half the season. And every week except 2, Jacobs got a game ball. He was the Raiders' offense, and he was their identity and their heartbeat. There's no mistake about that. He was the guy that drove the ship. Yeah, Derek was captaining it, but the guy that made it go was Josh Jacobs. So I agree 100% that he did take pressure off of Carr. They do need 2 more weapons. They need a legitimate number 1 receiver, and they need to get another guy on the outside. The way the NFL is going, you have to have at least 2 or 3 wide receivers that are legitimate. You got Tyrell Williams on the outside. You got to get somebody on the outside that their main job is what Willie Gault was, what Jerry Porter was early on in his career when Rice and Brown were with the Raiders, to get deep and take the top off the defense to keep the safeties honest. And you got to have your guy to work the underneath. That should be your number 1 receiver in Gruden's offense. Not everybody in the NFL, but for John Gruden, what he wants to do, you got to get that guy in the slot. That's what Antonio Brown was supposed to be last year. We all know what happened with frozen feet. Whatever, no big deal. You move on from that. No money lost. You're going to win. They're going to win the grievance. It's no big deal. You lose a 3rd round pick, could have been a 3rd round bust, whatever. But now you have an opportunity to go get a guy like a Jerry Jeudy, or Justin Jefferson, or CeeDee Lamb. You get those types of guys. I love how you throw
Jefferson in there like that, man. That's brilliant.
I'm gonna be real. I would take him outside of Jeudy. I would take Jefferson as my first. Judy's my, and I've said I haven't seen. Personally, I haven't seen a receiver with that advanced route running in at least 15 years.
Right.
I mean, seriously, his route running, the way he's able to throttle it back, the way he controls himself, that gets in and out of his breaks, the way he sets him up, that is the type of receiver you need nowadays. That's what he brings that no other receiver brings. And no disrespect to CeeDee Lamb or anybody else. I like Jefferson's. He's bigger in terms of he's 6'2", but he's bigger as far as muscular. That's why I like him a lot more than other receivers. And keep an eye on Mims from Baylor. That's another guy.
Yep.
Yeah, he does some things that I know the Raiders got Jordy Nelson late in his career, but what Jordy Nelson did in his prime, this guy does naturally with his size, with his arm length and the way he keeps guys away. It's crazy. But Jefferson is that guy to me that could come in and be that. You get those types of guys around Carr. I disagree with you and D respectfully when it comes to Carr's playing with passion and fire. I just was with him again like a month and a half, 2 months ago. And you're looking at a guy that literally sat with me and Paul Gutierrez from ESPN and was looked at us dead in our eye and was like, I'm taking every snap at this stadium from the first preseason game and the first game until I retire. This is my stadium. This is my team. That's what he says to us. And it's like, whoa, like I was like, okay, DC. And I even, Squeeze TQ was with me and he was just kind of like, damn, like, yo, like he's like, bruh, like, yo, DC's on now. I said, yeah, so I don't think that there's no fire there. What I think that there is a guy that played with a broken back, a guy that played with, they had the broken leg. He had a piss poor offensive line. Let's be real. The offensive line was trash for them up until Gruden got there. And it's a guy that didn't have a running game. That receiving wise, you had pedestrian wide receivers and you had a guy that dropped more balls than he does anything else in Cooper. And I don't care who says what Dallas is going to overpay for him. He may be a good route runner, but he don't catch when you need him to catch, and he doesn't show up in big games. So they got rid of him, and he didn't want to be there. You've seen it with his play on the field. So what's Derek Carr supposed to do? And at the end of the day,
go ahead, man. I was just want to know. I was wondering your thoughts, because when I was listening to the mic, I played it last show. It was Mike Mayock's comments at the combine when he was talking about all the intangibles that Carr had. You could tell that he was laying the foundation for Carr, but he also talked about the lack of red zone production and just the goal-to-goal point scoring in general. So I think he left that door open, which he should. That's the proper thing to do if you're a GM. You don't want to show all your cards as early as not even free agency happening. But do you really believe and think, even when you hear Gruden talk, that they think that he's missing something? I mean, it's not fire. I mean, I understand that this guy is very passionate. He's a very passionate, loyal man, but do you think it's the offense that makes him like that? Or do you think that it's just him not feeling secure yet with the football team?
No, I don't think it's either of that. Look, when you look at the offense, how much of that is on Carr versus the play calling? Gruden, in the second half of games and in the red zone, his play calling sucked.
True.
If we're going to be honest, it wasn't great. And he acknowledged that. He knows he has to do a better job, and he said that. And then when you don't have your weapons, or your weapons are hurt, when you have a guy playing with a Liz Frank injury, you can double up your tight end. That's a mismatch. And then you can put your next best corner on your slot receiver and bracket him. And then who do you have? Undrafted guys that you traded for that other teams didn't want.
Speed guys, yeah.
Yeah, and speed guys in the red zone don't work.
Exactly.
Like, let's be real.
Right.
So you don't see Tyreek Hill in the red zone being that weapon. Most of his stuff is from like the 15 beyond versus the 15 in. So, and I don't think Carr lacks a fire. I think what he doesn't want, he doesn't want to, he's this new age quarterback. Aaron Rodgers does it.
Yeah.
People don't believe me. Ask any Green Bay fan. They'll tell you Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't throw interceptions because he throws the ball away and will take 3 points versus no points, trying to force it. That's what Carr is doing. It's the way the NFL is the analytical approach. It's the way the NFL and smart quarterbacks approach the game. New England Patriot fans will say the same thing about Brady in the red zone. They weren't great in the red zone because he didn't have weapons, but he also wasn't going to try to force a ball in between two defenders and hopefully get a touchdown. He would rather, okay, throw this away and we'll take the 3 and rely on our defense. Carr doesn't have that with the defense.
Nope.
So therefore, it's a combination of the offense, the play calling, and Carr not wanting to take a chance and turning the ball over in the red zone, which quite frankly will piss Raider Nation and every Raider fan off even more, including the coaching staff, turning the ball over in the red zone when instead of you tucking it or throwing it away and walking away with 3, you're walking away with nothing because you want to try to throw a touchdown pass.
And I wanted to get your take on that because I want to reiterate my stance on it. I don't think it's a lack of fire. What I'm saying is that a lot of Raider Nation is saying that he lacks that fire, right? That Mamba mentality that we always talk about. What I see in Carr is a guy that has just been a bookworm, studying the system and playing yes man. I think he just needs to own the offense. Does that make sense? It's not a lack of fire. Like, I know he's a passion, he's a good football player, but I think this year he needs to come out saying, I know the playbook, I know John, I know my reads, I know what I'm looking for on defense, and just play with more confidence and moxie that this is his football team.
But what type of fire are you looking for?
No, he has the fire. You see him. I'm talking about just owning the moment. owning the moment from
I'm
first
speaking in
quarter.
general.
Yeah.
I'm speaking like the people say he doesn't play with fire. He's not passionate. He's not yelling. Well, okay, you want that Tom Brady type? Well, but nobody wants Tom Brady because he's 42.
Right.
You want Phillip Rivers? I got a rod and 8 screws in my arm. I could throw a ball further than Phillip Rivers right now. So who do you want? Like, you're not getting Patrick Mahomes. You're not getting Deshaun Watson. You're not getting Sam Darnold. You know, you want Taysom Hill, who's at 30 something. He's unproven. He's gonna get paid.
Nah.
Like, for me, you have a quarterback that's in your.
I don't know if we lost his mic. Check your mic, Joe. But like I said, it's not the fire. It's more of. Uh-oh. Let me see if his mic catches up real quick. Don't forget, while we wait for Joe's mic to come back live, you could call in at 253-99. There you go. Wait,
you got me now?
back?
Am I back?
Yeah. Your mic froze. You're back.
Okay, but my point is, you're not getting one of those young quarterbacks that's doing exceptional things. I mean, look, the 49ers are trying to trade their quarterback who led them to a Super Bowl appearance.
I know, right?
You know what I mean? Like, so when you look at the way that you're not going to get the next Brett Favre with Derek Carr. You're not getting Aaron Rodgers. You're not getting Drew Brees. No. You got Derek Carr. And what Derek Carr does well is manage games. And when you give him weapons, look at Fresno State. He was dope because he had a legitimate number one receiver in Devontae Adams.
Yeah, two of them.
Yeah, he sure as hell did. When you look at what he had around him, and
a great running game,
he did. So when you have these recipes to win, you don't change them, and I think that's part of the problem. He had such a great year in 2015 when he was an MVP caliber quarterback. The Raiders felt that he was an ascending franchise quarterback. That's why they gave him the money. That's even after he broke his. Look, I'll put it like this. I was on the phone with the Raiders executive Christmas Eve, and that was the day that DC broke his leg, I believe. I think it was Christmas Eve, or it was right around that time. I think it was Christmas Eve. And I was on the phone with him, and he says, we're already working on the contract to get him done before next year, or going into next year. We're not going to waste time. We feel he's a franchise quarterback, and we're got to lead us that we feel can lead us to a Super Bowl. The executive is still with the team. He's still a major part of the team. Gets a check from him. So when you have that belief, when Mark Davis believes in him, Mike Mayock, look, Mayock's not coming out saying, hey, guys, quarterback is a position we have need. We have a crappy quarterback. Our deficiencies at quarterback. No, he's saying our deficiencies on defense and at the receiver position. He's saying our quarterback threw for a 70% clip. He threw for 4,000 yards. He had a 3-to-1 touchdown ratio. He did a great job managing the offense. We got to get better in these areas. Yeah, exactly. And he's done everything that they've asked for him off the field as well. That he's telling you in not so many words, I'm not getting rid of Derek Carr right now. If we could bring in a quarterback to push him or make him better, we're going to do it. But I'm not getting rid of him. It to me, a lot of this is
dumb business move if they do.
Exactly. To me, it's more of fans pissed off that he's not Patrick Mahomes.
He's not winning games, and they haven't been in the playoffs. They're tired of losing. They're tired of 2 decades of losing, and I understand all that. But I like I've always said, man, wins a lot since Rich Gannon. And I know there's been guys in here. There's been Jason Campbell. He looked all right, but Jason Campbell didn't even have what Derek Carr has already, like the whole package. Derek Carr has put it all together physically. He's not getting you the wins and losses, department that you want and getting us into the playoffs. But I've said this, and I just want to clarify, man. I'm a Derek Carr guy. I've always been a Derek Carr guy, and I do understand that your rope always runs thin, but the grass ain't always greener on the other side. It's not so easy. All these quarterbacks we talk about with all this great potential, and the quarterbacks are coming out of college. They're more prepared. They're having more success, but it's still one of the biggest positions that's unguaranteed for success when they come out of college in the NFL. Some could do it right away. Some take 2 years. Some fall off the map and you never hear from them again. So the fact that Derek Carr has the ability to do what he already does, it's dumb on the first year, the inaugural year in Las Vegas, brand new stadium, brand new city, brand new fans. He's already loved. He's got great personality. He's the kind of guy that you want in a town like Vegas leading this football team. It'd be dumb business. It'd just be dumb business at this point.
And he's got a house next door to John Gruden.
Well, that's pretty funny too. I mean, you don't want to have to put him up for. I would rent it out, and I'd rent it out to a bunch of hooligans.
Turn it into an Airbnb.
Yep.
So game days, you keep them up.
Yep.
A couple days before.
Throwing rocks at the windows. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I do. Phone lines are open, guys. 253-993-3651. That's 253-993-3651. Another big shout out to Raider D for calling. As you heard, it's working. You could hear D. It's live, guys. So call in. It's working. So, yeah, man. So I think the future is bright for this football team, and the fact that you look at it offensively. I mean, you could literally go away. Just I still think we need another running back, but outside of that, just give me a good number one wide receiver on the outside, and this offense could be scary.
I like what Steven Johnson said in the chat. Look at Jefferson's production versus SEC competition in 2019. Go back to 2018 as well.
Yeah,
those
that kind of stuff.
I care about that. That's why when I look at quarterbacks, I look at what they did again, like Deshaun Watson, for instance. There was no doubt in my mind he wasn't going to be a very good top flight NFL quarterback because of his production and what he did at Clemson from his freshman year. And then, but you look at the games that stand out to me. What did he do to Nick Saban's defenses? Carved them up. Nick Saban could not do anything to stop Deshaun Watson. And when you lead them down into the last second touchdown drive, or you to win the national championship, or you go down and blow them out from the time the whistle, kicks off to the time you see the 4 zeros across the scoreboard, Deshaun Watson did it. So for me, when you look at things and it comes to receivers, it's the same thing. What did you do against this DB? What did you do against that DB? And what did you do when the lights were big? You look at Jefferson when the lights came on. Look at him in the national championship game against A.J. Fuller, who's going to be a first or second round pick in this year's draft out of Clemson. Tall, long, athletic corner, could be a guy the Raiders have some interest in if they trade back into round 2 or trade back into the back end of round 1. He torched them. He literally made scouts and talent evaluators go back and watch tape on what Fuller has done against other top flight wide receivers. So when you look at that side of Jefferson, that's what I see. When I see what Jerry Jeudy has done to DBs over and over and over and over and over again, you can't stop but look. You can't stop but think yourself, look at this guy's production. Look at what he's doing. So overall, I think the Raiders will get the receiver in this draft early. But you have to bring in a guy or two guys, because this is a deep wide receiver class. I mean, you got Cephas from Wisconsin that probably go 3rd, 4th, 5th round. He's a guy I think in most years could be a second round day 2 guy, 2nd, 3rd round. He's going later. He torches guys. He's a guy to watch too. Let's say they get Jefferson and Cephas in this draft. That's a win at the wide receiver position. You upgraded your position, and you still got Hunter Renfrow. You still got Tyrell Williams. You have the other young guys you have. You could bring somebody in, and then you have your running game. And I do agree. You got to get another bigger back.
Yeah,
you got to get
a complimentary back.
Type. Yeah, you got to get
Richard's good. Richard's good, but you need another bruiser.
Yeah, but again, for me, I would like to see Jones on the field more than Richard. Like, to me, I'm kind of over Richard. I was kind of surprised they signed him to a deal to keep him around for a couple years.
He's a good pass blocker, and he's got good hands. It's a John Gruden move. John Gruden loves those guys. But I think Josh Jacobs is going to be up more for the task. He'll be more of a 4-down back this year. But you got to. Richard's a good pick. Yeah,
he needs to be, because when he's on the field, he does it all, and that's my only knock on Jones. Or excuse me, Jacobs. My only knock on him is suck that he got hurt. I want to see him on the field more. You know, if it's through an injury or as him not being on the field or him not being on the field for another reason. I want to see him on the field more. He needs to be on the field more for them to be competitive in games. And that's if they often stay status quo.
Absolutely. We got another call. Let's go ahead and see who this caller is. Caller, you're live. Welcome to the Will to Win.
Raider, Oakland Knight.
Mikey Raider, man. What's going on, brother? How are you, man? It's good to hear you, brother.
I'm proud as hell, man. I went online to go live and do my show, and I noticed you guys were online, and I was like, man, let me support and represent, brother. Let me give you guys a call.
Man, well, I'm glad you decided to call. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys all know who this is. This is Mikey Raider. He's got one of the biggest Raider YouTube channels out there. So, Mikey, man, what's going on with you, brother?
Nothing. First off, I just wanted to say welcome back to the Oakland Knights. Welcome back. I love you, brother. I'm sure most of Raider Nation misses you as well, and I know you've been doing a lot with the blind community, and I'm here for love, man, and I wanted to represent and thank you for everything.
Well, I really appreciate that, Mikey, but man, I got to get a hot take from you, man. What you got for us tonight?
Hot take?
Yeah, give us something.
The only hot take that I'm talking about a little bit later in my show is Tyrell Williams being overpaid. I don't know if you guys think he truly is. And is he the best representation at wide receiver for the Raiders? Because he was asked to play the X and the Z wide receiver position after Antonio Brown left, and he still failed at that position, and he couldn't even reach the numbers he did in San Diego with a crappy Phillip Rivers. And Derek Carr had his best statistical year. So does Tyrell Williams look like he should be a part of this team any further? Or should we just go out and revamp the entire wide receiver core besides Hunter Renfrow?
Well, I know you're going to fire my guy up, Joe here. He played with an injury too. So remember, he had the plantation on his foot. So I think he still made some big plays. He got lost in the mix over there with Rivers and with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and all those guys. I believe that he still has that opportunity. And when his foot gets healed, I think you're going to see this guy explode, especially going back to being the number 2 wide receiver. You're going to see some of the things that he did in San Diego at the time, LA, over here in Las Vegas. What's your take, Joe?
Well, I think that anybody that's had plantar fasciitis knows that it's hard to walk, let alone play in an NFL game. When you play half your season with it, it's very difficult. And then on top of that, or coupled with that, you're asked to play multiple positions as a receiver when you're brought in to play one specific initially. They knew what they were getting with him. They wanted a guy on the outside. That was his primary job with the Chargers, and that's what they wanted to have with the Raiders. But when the whole situation with Antonio Brown happened, they wanted to put him in a position to make more plays. We've seen it week 1 against Denver. I mean, he was torching Denver's secondary, big play after big play. But again, the plantar fasciitis kicked in halfway through the year, and I was surprised he even played, to be honest with you. He barely could walk throughout the week, walking boot, had to stay off of his foot, wasn't practicing. So I think that, because of that, I give him some grace. If it's like that this year, Mikey, I'd probably agree with you. But right now, there's no way, because you don't have another receiver on that roster that teams are going to fear. At least with him, sometimes teams are going to try to scheme against him or scheme for him. But without him, there's nobody they're going to scheme for other than Waller. And again, they'll bracket him. They'll mix up coverage on him. They won't do that with Williams or without Williams being there. If Williams is there, they won't. It's a little more difficult. But I don't necessarily agree with that. But again, he's played hurt for a year, and I'm the opposite side. I give him credit for being tough, for going out there and playing like that, and playing with that burning sensation where, I mean, literally, it is one of the worst feelings you could have in your feet. I've talked to dudes that have played in the NBA with it, guys that have played in the NFL that haven't played because they have this on their foot, and they're like, it's too painful to even walk. Like, they're off their feet for an extended period of time. And this guy's out there, bleeding silver and black, trying to win ball games. I give him credit for that.
Yeah, and I think too, I mean, the fact that we saw him go over the top a couple of times to still make plays dealing with that, I think that says a lot. Yeah, is there going to be question marks? Always. Anytime that you have a season, regardless of what the case was, you're going to want to see more production the next year. But I do think he gets another chance. So what do you think, Mikey? Does that change your mind, or are you still on the fence with him?
I agree with what you guys said about the injury, but long story short, like I truly believe he was overpaid. I mean, he got $10 million last year. Antonio Brown was in the $17 million range. And, he didn't really man up and play the positions regardless of being hurt or not. But that does say a lot about the free agency for Mike Mayock. And then they paid Keelan Dosh. They're calling him a prospect. So I have a little bit of questioning with free agency with Gruden and the players they're picking up at certain positions like Zay Jones and Trevor Davis, who came in to fill out the wide receiver core. It's really making me mad that all of it was put on Tyrell Williams and Hunter Renfrow. And I don't really think they're doing that good of a job in terms of free agency, in terms of players, especially at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, free agency is a whole nother nut to crack. It's like any time that you're gonna, it's like the second round of the draft or the second version of the draft. You got guys that are on the end of their career. You got guys that are in the middle of their career. You don't necessarily know if they're going out for the paycheck or what exactly is they're going for. But I think now that this team is starting to develop its own culture, its own personality, I think it's going to be a lot easier to attract the kind of players that they've been trying to attract for years, Mac. We've been doing this for decades, right? We've been trying to find those guys but we didn't really have that culture anymore. We didn't have a real coach that was there since Gruden that really put that all together. So I think that people are going to want to come here, not just for a paycheck. They're going to come here for opportunity, regardless of where they're at, their second stint or their last stint in the NFL. So I'm excited about that. What about you, Joe?
Well, I would agree with that. I think culture is big. But Mikey, as much as he missed maybe on, bringing Doss back, that was an undrafted rookie free agent. You brought him back because no other receiver knew the offense in the NFL that you could have possibly gotten. They actually paid him like $1.5 million or whatever, 1.3 something million dollars, which would be the equivalent of a 4th round draft pick, which was where he was projected to go. But Trent Brown, he hit out the park with Trent Brown, hit it out the park bringing in Richie Incognito, which was controversial. Honestly, Vontaze Burfict, before he went back to being Dirty Vontaze, he was playing really good football for the Raiders. LaMarcus Joyner was up and down, but again, you're learning a new defense. So I see your point, but at the same time, you're looking at a team that had no identity. The head coach was the only identity. On the field, off the field, wherever you went, it was Gruden. Now you have players after this past draft that you can market. You have guys like Cleveland Farrell that really, that last Raider home game stopped a riot from happening by giving away all of his stuff he was wearing. He damn near got butt naked, giving away his gear to stop people from getting onto the field. And he was asked to do things culturally in the locker room that most rookies are not asked to do. And he did it. And the veteran players respected him. When you have guys like Crosby step up and play the way he played, we've seen the flashes with Jonathan Abram, but he's got to stay healthy. When you've seen what Mullen has done at corner, he's a potential lockdown corner. They found an undrafted rookie in Keyshawn Nixon, who potentially will be a starter for them at some point. Isaiah Johnson, there's still room for him to grow. You see it. You brought up Hunter Renfrow, a tremendous young possession wide receiver that makes tough catches, that doesn't drop too many balls. And then they went out and they found Darren Waller from the Ravens practice squad. So they went out and found guys. Now, just not having Antonio Brown, they asked Tyrell Williams to do something he was not asked to do, wasn't supposed to be, which is be a number 1 wide receiver. $10 million in the grand scheme of things for a number 2 wide receiver in the NFL is not a lot of money. To put it in perspective, Stephon Diggs is a number 2 wide receiver in Minnesota. He's making $14.5 million. You could say Odell Beckham Jr. is a number 2 wide receiver in Cleveland. He's making $15 million. So in the grand scheme of things, $10 million for them isn't a lot of money. But it's the fact that the production wasn't there. I could see how frustrating that is. But again, you can't produce if you're not put in a position to make a lot of plays, and 2, you're doing it when you're injured and you're asked to do something where you probably shouldn't be playing at all, and you're risking further injury down the road. I see the frustration, but the Raiders are in a better position with the guys they have now than what they were 365 days ago, and even 365 days before that.
Floor is yours, Mikey.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I just wanted to appreciate and send the love and say I'm so proud to have you on the airwaves again, Oakland Night. We will be talking soon, and I just want to say congratulations, Joe. You're doing a fantastic job. Oakland Night, you're doing a fantastic job, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Man.
Thanks a lot, Mikey. Hey, when you going on tonight, man?
Probably 9 o'clock now.
Okay.
I wanted to let you guys do your show.
Oh man, no, don't worry about it. There's plenty.
You're online.
It's plenty for everybody, baby. Don't worry about it. I'll be checking you out, Mikey. I appreciate you calling.
No worries, man. You guys be blessed, man. Stay safe.
You too. Much love.
You too, brother. That was kind of interesting. He's the first person other than my good friend. Well, even though Nick Hamilton didn't even like dog Tyrell like that, but he's the first person that's ever I've seen to take a shot at Tyrell since he's been a Raider.
Mikey's like that. Mikey shoots with it. When Mikey gets an idea in his head, he just says it, man.
I like
that. What I love about him. Yeah, he owns what he thinks, man. You know, that's a rare talent when we do, right? Sometimes people just want to please the crowd. He doesn't try to please the crowd, dude. He wants to please the crowd, but he makes them mad a lot. I love Mikey. I love Mikey, man.
Oh, that's great.
All right, guys. So hey, the phone lines are still open. We probably got another 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll probably have to get out of here. So phone lines are open. 253-993-3651. That's 253-993-3651. Come in, man. Don't forget Franchise Sports Media Las Vegas right here. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Go hit it up. You don't want to miss. This weekend kicks off free agency. We're going to have a lot of things happening, man. So make sure that you guys are subscribed to Franchise Sports Media, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook.
Absolutely.
And don't forget franchisesports.com where you can get all the great articles from Joe and who else are some of the writers over there, bud?
We got you got me, you got TQ, who's actually waiting to come on, so you may want to check that out. He's been waiting for about 5 minutes. You have Nashawn Zaragoza. She's done a lot of stuff for Raiders in the community. Terrence Smith does a lot of game day coverage for us. Kalani Lua, huge guy, huge Raider fan from Oakland that we just brought on. Same thing with Kyle Rudolph. They're a squeeze.
What up?
And then we have a bunch of people. Isaiah Torres, Jerron Turner. We have a bunch of people. It's just there's nonstop coverage all the time. As you got your platinum plaques behind you. Look at that.
Look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the other co-founder, co-owner of Franchise Sports Media, TQ. TQ, say what's up to Raider Nation, man.
Hey, what's up? What's up, Raider Nation for life? We in the building. How y'all doing? Sorry, I missed most of the show, man. It's
crazy times, brother. It's crazy times, brother.
There's a lot going on right now. Gotta excuse me for that.
No, it's all good, man. It's all good. We were holding it down for you. A lot of action in the chat. Real quick, man, while we got you here, what is your take as we head into free agency?
I think that we really made some strides last year in the offseason. I think that injuries and suspensions really derailed the team. I think the team would have performed better even than it did. And I think that a lot of the flack that we're getting about this season, it's not really warranted. I don't think that we should have been expecting the Raiders to be that good this season. If it wasn't for an unbelievable draft, I don't understand what all the expectation was supposed to be. It was definitely a time to reboot. It was a time to get younger. John Gruden is in the middle of a rinse operation. He had to rinse the team out and redo the team. And I think that, we're on schedule, if not ahead of schedule. I feel like the injuries to the wide receiver core last year is really, and then Burfict on defense, like those was real big hits that we took. And I'm looking forward to what they do with this draft. I'm looking forward to the offseason moves because I personally trust Gruden and I trust Mayock, and they showed me a lot last offseason.
If I would have told you, Squeeze, and I asked Jay this a couple weeks ago, if I would have told you that the Raiders would be going into their final home game, their final game of the season, vying for a wild card spot. Don't matter if they backslid the second half of the year or got hot the second half of the year. If I would have told you day after the draft week 17, the Raiders are going into that week playing to get into the playoffs, would you have taken it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you would have, I would have probably bet against that.
Yeah, I know you would have. You'd have told me I'm crazy.
I'm saying, like, I just, when Gruden came aboard, number one, I know how intricate his offensive game plan is, how thick his playbook is. It takes time to learn. It's a lot for a quarterback, number one, but it's a lot for his running backs with the blocking scheme and how many roles a running back in his offense plays. So we got a rookie running back coming in. So a lot of these things I'm looking at, at the beginning of the season, I just said, let's be realistic about where we are. It's a rebuild, and to come in the last season with a chance, even though it wasn't our own, the last game of the season with a chance to go to the playoffs, I mean, that's big. So I feel like the nation just needs to calm down a little bit. It's not the end of the world. We've been doing a lot of losing for a long time. And I believe that the team is on the right track. We got we need a couple of more weapons. We need to get to the quarterback, and I think we'll be on. And we got to understand also injuries, man. Like, our receiving core it's not terrible. It's not terrible. People was hurt. Like, I was on the sideline for that last Oakland game, and I'm kind of like, quietly ear hustling. People was hurt, in pain. You know what I'm saying? So when you hurt, you can only perform to a certain level. And I don't believe they're gonna come in hurt this year. And even the guys that we had from this past year, I think we're gonna see an uptick in the production from all of them that suit up for us this year.
You said something really interesting, TQ, that I want to touch on, because we didn't really talk about that. We talked about the receiving core a lot tonight, about Williams, and we talked about Renfro, and we talked about getting that number one on the outside. But there was two cats that played last season, and they were undrafted rookies, Enrico Gafford and Keelan Doss. Now, they didn't show what we kind of expected they would, or hoped that they would, especially Keelan Doss, but you take your biggest jump from year one to year two. I think these guys could be some prominent number two, maybe some third down speed type guys that we can implement next year as well.
I agree 100%. Another thing we also have to understand, we're supposed to have Antonio Brown as our number one receiver, and we didn't. So when you take away that top end speed, you take away that down the field threat, that takes away a lot. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these guys that we had, they are good receivers, serviceable receivers. They are not number ones at this point in their career. So, that we took a hit on that, and I think we just have to be realistic about it. And you're right. I believe that a lot of these guys, should they still be there, are gonna perform better than they did this past year, whether it's because of being healthy or just having another year in the offense and another year of experience.
You and I disagree on this.
Here we go.
This is something that this is
wow.
Corona premiere. Yeah, us disagree on something. Brothers disagree. What? No. So I talk about one of the first two picks in the first round. You got to get a receiver. If it's Jerry Jeudy, if it's Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, I'm not a big Ruggs guy. I think he's one dimensional. The more I watch him, but I feel like even at 12, if you take Jeudy at 12 and Murray at 19, or Murray at 12 and Jefferson at 19, you cover up a big hole at wide receiver. You get that potential number one guy. You don't feel that same way about Jeudy, at least taking a wide receiver early. And I want you to explain why.
I just don't like. It's between the ears is where you got to understand when you're dealing with John Gruden. It's one thing to have a certain set of skills coming out of college. It's another thing to be able to pick up an offense and know where you're supposed to be and know where everybody else is supposed to be. It's not really taught at Alabama from what I've seen personally. So I'm not. I'm not really. I'm never really high on those guys coming out. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that they can't be good receivers, and that they can't go to another team with a simpler offense or a simpler scheme and pick it up. But in our offense, man, you just gotta be a guy with some that can pick up some things fast. So I'm not sold on them boys down there. I'm just not, and I haven't been for our particular team. Now, like I'm saying, I'm not talking the kids down. They both good players, but I don't want nobody that's running wrong routes and got Chucky having high blood pressure on the sidelines. And enough of that. I've seen enough of that. Need somebody to come in, listen, be where they supposed to be, pick it up fast, and let's keep it moving.
All right. So what that said, you guys don't agree on that, and the wide receiver is an issue with you there. So what are you looking at number 12?
You know what? I say our defense is trash. We need to be getting people who can go and get the quarterback. We need to be getting people who can go down the field with somebody for less than a couple of seconds. So I believe that the first round needs to be spent on defense. Wide receivers all over the place, man. They hit or miss. I just believe that the defense is so far behind the offense on this particular team that we need more defenders. We need linebackers. We need pass rushers. We need cornerbacks.
So you'd like to see those first two picks be defense in?
I'd like to see the whole first round be defense. Give me the first round and give me the first round and the third round. All defense.
All defense. Go all D.
Defense.
All D all day.
Oh,
how do you fix that? How do you fix that number one problem?
That's what he played when he was playing. He was a corner. That's why.
Man. That's why. The truth is starting to come out now. Okay.
Come on, man. We need defense. We need defense. All about defense. Our defense was terrible. Come on, bro. Our defense was terrible. Our defense has been terrible for years and years and years and years. Like, we have not had a good defense in a long time. It's time to invest in it. A lot of the games that we lost, we could have won if we had some kind of defense, if we could stop somebody.
And as much as I'm with you, man, I mean, like I agree. Like I've been wanting a defense. A lot of people that listen to me for years on here. I mean, I'm a defensive minded guy. I've always wanted a smash mouth team that's gonna like put people on their butts. But at the same time, I ain't dumb and know that we need to address that number one wide receiver though. How do we do that if we go all D?
Number one wide receiver is not gonna cause us to score more points than Patrick Mahomes. We need to try and stop Patrick Mahomes from scoring.
But you're not going to do that.
Why not?
You don't need to score more.
You slow him down.
Your offense isn't going to score more than Patrick Mahomes, but you need to defense score just a little less, and your offense will score just a little more. See, that's the thing. You're not trying to outscore them. You don't have any weapons other than Waller and Jacobs that will put a fear in Kansas City.
But
so you got to get our weapons.
Doing anything, you leave him back there. He can make a taco after he says hype and still throw a touchdown. He's back there for 20 seconds. We have nobody that can go and get the man. Like, that's who we're going to have to deal with for the next decade. You got to have pass rushers, and you got to have people who could stay with all of the speed on that team.
Let's squeeze.
That team has probably the most speed we've seen since what? Since the Rams?
Yeah, I would say so.
Right?
But here's the thing. You drafted Cleveland Farrell 4th overall.
Yeah.
You have Max Crosby with 10.5 sacks as a rookie.
Yes.
The pressure needs to come from the interior, right? Not necessarily the outside. Correct?
Even
you address that.
I believe in a platoon. I'm thinking about the Giants. I'm thinking about OC and Michael Strahan and all them. 4 of them come in, 4 of them go out. Keep them fresh. Keep them moving in and out. I feel like we need a team full of big, fast, strong dudes that can get to the quarterback, whether it's from the inside, from the outside. Patrick Mahomes, when he shows up, needs to be thinking, I don't have this much time to release the ball when I'm playing against the Raiders. And there's no quarterback that's thinking that anywhere on earth.
The catch-22 to that is then you don't get car weapons. And then you're going to have to go get a quarterback because they're going to run him out of town. And you got a quarterback that's got to learn Gruden's offense. And then you're like, we need a quarterback. We should have got rid of Carr. We need to get weapons.
Carr is one weapon away, man. He needs one person. He needs one person, and he needs the health of his receivers to last throughout the season, and his health to last throughout the season.
So he needs that one player. He needs that one person still, then, right?
Player.
So get the one player at pick 12 or 19 and then work the defense the rest of the way.
And you believe one of these receivers that'll be available at 12.
Real talk.
Is one
Real
of
talk. Just I believe Justin Jefferson from LSU.
He's been saying it all day.
Draft him at 9, let's say 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the guy. And I think that offense now has pieces. You can get another receiver somewhere down the line in the draft, later in the draft or next year, to add another weapon to the group. I think you go get a tight end in free agency or in this draft to back, let's say Thaddeus Moss, you get him to back up Waller, so you have another tight end to go with Morrow. Now you have something there offensively. Defensively, you can address a lot of these things in free agency. You go get a Malik Collins to play defensive tackle for you. You go get a Blake Martinez or a Littleton or somebody like that to play your inside linebacker. Vigil to play outside. You can bring Burfict back. You can go get Anthony Davis and put him at safety and Anthony Harris and Chris Harris at corner. Now you have some stuff. Now you still have Keyshawn Nixon, Isaiah Johnson. You still have those pieces. Abrams got to stay healthy.
I can't wait to see
Abrams. Still have Harris. That's the backup there. You can create your depth in the draft that way, but you address that stuff in free agency right now when it starts Sunday and Tuesday and going forward. And then what you do in the draft is you go get that wide receiver, because Robbie Anderson isn't going to be the guy for you this year. He's probably going to end up re-signing with the Jets. And you're not a big Robbie Anderson guy anyway. We know that. At least I know that. So that's just my point. Like you can make these. I made the point earlier in the show. Free agency is going to dictate or is going to show you what they want to do in the draft.
Makes sense. I do believe, though, remember this. We're in year 2, year 3 of a 10-year project, right? And the whole point was the culture, redoing the culture, right? You do that through the draft. You find your leaders of a new culture through the draft. So I believe that's their mantra. I think that's what they want to do. They want to find the guys in leadership positions in the draft because they're building a new culture. So, fine, do it with free agents if you can bridge the gap between the young guys and the older guys. But I love what they did last year, and I believe that they have the team to be able to do it again, pull off another good draft and get what they need. I just personally believe that we're going to see a better Tyrell Williams because he's going to have 2 healthy feet. You need feet if you're going to run. Man didn't have no feet.
Slow feet don't eat.
There you go. Renfro has another year. Wilder has another year. Running back is the man. I don't believe that we're as in need of so much more talent on offense. I just believe that the defense is so far behind. Just need to spend some time working on that.
I agree. And I've been saying all night, that we just need a backup running back, a complementary piece to Jacobs. Mm-hmm. But I still bang the table. Even as a defensive guy, I bang the table. I want that number 1 wide receiver on the outside.
And you believe he's in the draft. You believe it's
Oh, I believe he's there. Yeah, I believe he's there. Now, here's the key. And this is what you've been talking about, and this is the stance you're taking, and I could see that. And we got guys like Sammy Watkins and Amari Cooper that didn't live up to the full hype. I mean, they're good pieces to have on a team in certain situations. So you got to be careful of that. But there's plenty of guys that you could find later on. And I mean, he's banging the table for Jefferson, who's not even in people's radar right now. So those are the kind of guys that maybe you tend to look at and get a little chip on their shoulder that want to work a little harder than everybody else. Maybe that's what it is. But nevertheless, I really think that we need to find that guy that has the skill set to get over the top and free up Williams and Renfro in the middle.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. I agree. I agree with Joe when he said it from the beginning. I just not sold that one of these guys is that guy right now.
Oh, you don't have to agree with Joe. That's all good.
Wow, that's like a first.
Rarely.
For him to say he agrees with me.
Rarely. I put it like this. I agree on the need. I agree that that's something we need to address. I just don't agree that I don't see that guy in the first round.
We got this on tape, bro. Nah, we got it on tape. Ain't no going back.
Come on, man. Come on. Ray Charles can see we need a receiver, bro. He's blind and dead. Give me a break.
That's good stuff, man.
Oh.
That's good stuff. See, I knew things would pick up once you got in here and you guys started going at it a little bit. I've been waiting for this.
We do it.
Yeah, this is like a normal conversation
Right?
over tacos and Corona premieres.
Exactly.
Really? Corona premieres? Really?
Yeah, man, we're getting old. We gotta watch the figure out here these days.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Kind of lose it.
I get you.
Man, sweet. So we made the announcement when the show began about Jason bringing the will to win and collaborating with us with the franchise. Like, what do you have to say about that, brother, from your perspective?
Oh man, it's a match made in heaven. We you know, being from LA, being a Raider fan, living in Vegas now with the move, like we really wanted to kind of authenticate with the fan base. You know what I'm saying? It's tons of Raider fans out here, tons of Raider fans in LA, and tons in the Bay, and we're in a unique situation that I don't think another team is in, to kind of have this triangle of so many people. So definitely glad that you came on, man. It's gonna be fun servicing Raider Nation. I love it. I can't wait till it gets
I appreciate
started.
it, man.
Hopefully we can get past this pandemic we're in, and be safe on the other side and get back to sports.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate the being a part of the team, man, and just bringing the Raider Nation what they deserve, which is great information, great fire, great passion, and just really light Las Vegas up, man. This is the inaugural year. You know, franchise sports has an opportunity to make its mark, and I'm just glad to be a part of the team to help do that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We out here to do it.
And just remember, guys, Franchise Media Sports, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, go hit it up. Don't forget to check out the website where you get all the great articles. There's a lot of stuff coming, man. Free agency is kicking off this week. It's going to be the hot spot for your Raider news. I promise you.
Absolutely. We got even though it's a pause in the action, we got a whole lot of news coming over the next couple of weeks. We got interviews with ex-Raiders. We got talking about free agency, talking about the draft. I'm sure Joe's going to do a couple of mocks. So stay tuned to the site. It's www.franchisesportsmedia.com, and it's your new home for Las Vegas sports.
And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube page.
Yes,
follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's all on the social media side. Other than YouTube, it's all at the franchise LV. So it's all the same.
Mm-hmm.
But for YouTube, it's Franchise Sports Media. So we want to get you guys subscribed. We want to do more stuff for you. You know, that's this is part of a bigger plan that we have, and in order for it to take place, we need your guys' support. So
yes, we do.
Make sure you give us a follow, and being able to have the will to win, you know, to go along with some of the other shows that we're collaborating and we have coming out in the near future is going to be real special for us all.
Yes, indeed.
It's all about staying consistent, bringing that fire and bringing that information. So make sure you go to those sites, Franchise Media Sports. Don't miss it. We got a few more minutes before we jump out of here. I'm going to keep the phone lines open. 253-993-3651. That's 253-993-3651. You want to get your word heard? Make it happen.
Call and talk to Squeeze.
Yeah, holler at your boy. We out here.
Yeah,
hey,
squeeze it out of him.
Paper too. I got toilet paper. We can talk about that. We can talk about that when we get finished, baby.
Hey, well, can we get your address, man?
So
we might have to throw a raid on that.
I went to the store prior to this. We went to the store, and I hadn't been to like a grocery store since this whole thing started. Right?
Oh no, for real?
Yeah, bro. It was all bad.
Ridiculous.
All bad. The lines. Like it was like I bought a case of tuna, 4 things of grilled chicken,
package of ramen,
some pasta, huge things of pasta. Like, hey, just in case, we already have all the other essentials. But I'm like, hey, I'm gonna stock up on some food just in case, because all these schools are getting shut down now.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Hey, we got a question coming in from Roger Gutierrez. What's our opinion on the scenario the Raiders signed Marcus Mariota, Joe Schobert, and Byron Jones and draft Kenneth Murray at 12 and Ruggs at 19?
Who is number 12?
Kenneth Murray, the linebacker from Oklahoma.
I'm telling you, man. You know what, Paul? I think that that right there is a sweet spot for me. I mean, I know TQ might be on the other end of that because he doesn't want the receiver in the first round, but I'm telling you, I think that's a match made in heaven. I think we cover a lot of bases right there. I think that sets us up. Does it fix our problems on defense like me and TQ have been talking about? No, not really. But it's a great start. It brings some, like Q would say, alpha dogs in the house. And I think it's enough to really spark this thing up. I think the defense played well at times. So Marcus Mariota pushes the whole deal forward, gives us a little security blanket, even if Carr gets hurt. So I think that's a win-win. I think that's a playoff, at least a playoff wild card berth right there.
I don't mind Mariota coming in to push the envelope a little bit. Oklahoma defenders, man, Big 12 defenses. I don't know, bro. I don't know. So Ruggs, we already talked about that. I mean, I guess it's okay. I think we could do better. I don't know. I think we could do better, and I think that you know it's diamonds in the rough, man. Mayock is a beast, I believe. I think he does a hell of a job. I think he digs into places where a lot of people don't for a lot of different reasons, and I think he can pull a rabbit out of his hat. So, you know, out of this, I would say Mariota moves the needle for me. I do believe that we need to bring in somebody that can move the offense a little bit, switch things up if by chance Carr gets hurt. And I think that's the guy I would love to have backing him up.
Out of this scenario, Mariota, I'd be on board with that. Joe Schobert, he's a hell of a linebacker. I'm surprised the Browns aren't doing more to keep him. He's a legitimate dude. You put up that number with that defense, and you've done it, and you're relatively young. I like Schobert like that. Byron Jones, I don't like the $17 to $19 million a year price tag that comes with the guy that has 2 career interceptions. Let the Jets and the Giants overpay for him. Give me Chris Harris as the guy, or even see if you can get Xavier Rhodes since he's been released on a deal that's a little more show improved type deal since he got paid by Minnesota already. I think Harris makes more sense. And you can get, let's say you can get a Harris and an Anthony Harris, the safety from the Vikings, for what you're going to pay for Byron Jones. And I would rather do that. And then look at Murray. I said earlier, I think he's different than other Oklahoma defenders. Like I said, Squeeze, you weren't on, but I said, name the last really good Oklahoma linebacker that they've had. You know what I mean? Like McCoy was the last good defensive tackle they put out. But other than that, again, you have one every few years. I don't like Ruggs at 19. Again, I would go with Jefferson. That's just
there
preference.
He is again. I knew that was coming.
I'm gonna beat that. Hey, it's him or Judy, and Judy's not gonna be there at 19.
So like the Jeffersons, baby, moving on up, right?
Yeah, moving on up, you know. But hey, when you're 6'2", 204 or 2 whatever around there, and you run a 4.43 and you play faster than your 4.43, that shows a lot. And you did it against great competition. He tore up AJ Fuller in the national championship game, and that guy was projected to go top half of the NFL draft this upcoming year. Now the teams are looking at him in the second round because of what Jefferson did to him. They're rewatching tape. That goes a long way with me. He did it in the SEC where you have really good corners and really good defenses. He caught over 100 balls for like 1,400 yards and I believe over 20 touchdowns this past season. That's not by chance. It's not because he sucks. It's because the guy out there is killing people with his release. He's probably the second best route runner behind Judy in this draft. And then CeeDee Lamb is right there as well. Those are the guys, again, at 19, I would prefer. But I'm going to give you guys a hint. And I'm not even trying to be funny when I say this.
Here we go.
Unless it's somebody super special, Squeeze will never want anybody from Alabama on the Raiders, no matter who it is.
I'll take Julio Jones on the Raiders today.
Okay, Julio's different.
There it is.
Julio's family
right now.
Julio's family, that's different. Non-family Alabama members.
No, man. Come on, man. I'm not even saying it for that reason. Yeah, I can't really stand Alabama. That's not my, they ain't my cup of tea. But I believe that they make college football players. That's what I believe. They have a college football system. They make great college football players. and it's a college football factory. They're gonna always win in college football.
Yeah,
Well, stops there. That's about it.
A true story about Alabama. This is how this football team is built. Last year, about this time when the new recruits came in for this for the spring, or the year, it may have been the year before. The early enrollees came in. All of the DBs in the DB room are working out, and you got safeties that are 220 pounds, DBs that are 210 pounds, and these guys come in, and they're coming in at 208, 215, 217. And the DBs, not the coaches, the DBs said, hey, come on, we got to go run. We got to cut weight. They're like, what? They're like, yeah, we're too heavy. We can't cover Clemson and LSU wide receivers. These are the players thinking this. Safety's got to get down to about between 205 and 200 pounds. And the DBs wanted at like between 185 and 190 because they felt that they're carrying too much weight to slow them down. That's the players' mentality at Alabama. That's the mentality at Clemson. That's what's separating those schools. Now LSU. Those are separating those schools from schools like, and I hate to say it, USC, which doesn't think like that. You know, they may be getting back to that. That's what separates them from a Wisconsin or a Michigan or even in Ohio State. They're just different down there. So for me, so, you know, and Squeeze has more stories that you'll hear when we do our franchise podcast, when we talk about the mentality of the players, of college players, not just in Alabama, but California and throughout the country, guys that we come in contact with, that we actually, guys that we'll compare to UNLV players, where it's just different because, you know, the UNLV players, it's getting a different mentality. It started to change under Coach Sanchez. It's changing again under Coach Royler, taking steps up. But prior to that, you had guys, the offensive line averaging 6'3", 265 pounds, you know, and you have, you know, 9 offensive linemen on scholarship. Now they're all over 6'5". They're all over 300. They look like real men, grown ass men playing offensive line that could play at another level. So when you guys get a chance and you watch some of these guys and you review everything and you're watching tape, don't look at the touchdowns. And if you do, look at who they're going against and what coverage it is.
Right.
You know, if you're watching don't watch Jerry Jeudy against the Citadel. You know, watch Jerry Jeudy against LSU corners. Watch Jerry Jeudy against Okuda from Ohio State. Watch him against the elite and watch how he creates his separation. That's what makes him special to me. That's why I'm high on Jeudy. I've been saying, look, me and Squeeze have been getting into this Jerry Jeudy thing all college football season. You know, and we were at Al's garage in Summerlin, and it's a constant. Now, Jerry Jeudy, oh, here you go. Jerry Jeudy will not be a Raider, bro. Yeah.
Just on it. Just on it.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see what happens now, man.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be interesting.
It will be interesting.
Yeah, when it comes to tape, people got to realize, man, when you YouTube these players, you're getting all the highlights.
That's it.
If you really want to get down and dirty, which I'll be the first to tell you I don't do, I need to do more of, you got to go and get all the tape. You got to go and find whole games and watch whole games against, like you guys say, the elite teams, the elite players, and really watch the good and the bad. And that might change your mind and make you, you know, pound the table for Jefferson.
Exactly. And then you also have to understand who's throwing it. Who's throwing that ball too.
That's a big part of it. The offense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So okay, let's say hypothetical situation. Pick 12 comes up. Justin Herbert's on the board still.
Nope.
Do you take Justin Herbert at 12?
Absolutely not.
No. I say that's bad business, bro. That is bad business from top to bottom.
Yeah. That's unnecessary.
Yep. That's reaching. We're not in a situation where we have to reach like that.
No, not at all. And then not only that, like I'm not just Derek Carr in his 3rd season in John Gruden's offense is better than any college quarterback coming out this year, period. He's better than the majority of NFL quarterbacks. His 3rd year in John Gruden's system. Derek Carr is a smart guy. He's got an arm.
Yep. And
he took a early injury that had him a little shook, and he doesn't want to take him again. He's not as confident in his offensive line. He's not as confident in the weapons that he has. And every once in a while, he gets a little skittish. He don't want to turn the ball over. He don't want to take a risk. I understand that. If you're looking around you and you feel like your team is trash, I mean, what are you supposed to do? I believe that, once again, give it a little bit of time. With time comes trust. I remember Gannon when he mastered the offense.
Yeah.
When he mastered the offense, we went to the playoffs 3 straight times and a Super Bowl. And when you master that offense, when you're the guy that can play in that offense, you can have some success. It's been shown. And I feel like we just got to give them time. They coming from the bottom. They may not get all the pieces this year. I don't believe that anybody is expecting us to go to the Super Bowl this year. It would be nice. I think
wild card.
I think we can get off into that wild card this year with a good offseason. We damn near got off in the wild card this past season. So, we ain't that far away, man. We don't need to be reaching for quarterbacks in the first round.
I'm going to believe Kansas City's window
next year we may need to do that, but not right now.
I'm of the belief that the Chiefs window isn't as wide open as some think.
It's not,
because you're going to have to pay Jones. You franchise him this year, but you're going to have to pay him long term. You're going to have to pay Tyrann Mathieu long term. You're going to have to restructure Sammy Watkins' deal because, Watkins is supposed to make $17 million this year as a number 2, and they're not going to pay him that. No. You're going to have to restructure his deal. You're going to have to pay Kelsey, and then you got to pay Mahomes.
Well, Mahomes
I think that team's window.
Mahomes as a 2-year starter is a league MVP and a Super Bowl MVP with the championship they haven't seen in 50 years. That guy's going to command a quarter of your salary.
Yeah, he's going to break the bank. I don't think it's about their Super Bowl window. I don't think nobody really has long Super Bowl windows anymore. But he's going to be a fixture in the AFC West that we're going to have to see twice a year for the next decade. So he's still going to be hard to beat. You know what I'm saying? Still not going to be easy to beat him. He's that good of a player that we definitely need to be preparing for him in our way for whatever it is that we're trying to do for the next, for the life of Grudy's contract.
Yep.
Unless Andy Reid leaves anytime soon.
And what that means?
That help. Well, I mean, Andy
Reid's offense.
Huh?
Andy Reid's offense helps.
Yeah,
that's what it means.
Eric Bieniemy gonna run what Patrick Mahomes want to run. Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, for sure.
Nope.
Trust that.
Unless if it's Eric Bieniemy or the dude or the offensive genius coaching the Chicago Bears, whatever his name is. They called him an offensive. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like that. Nah. And EB's gonna get another guy.
If I'm Patrick Mahomes and I'm the Super Bowl champion, I'm MVP, and I'm about to make $200 million, whoever you are, Mr. Coach, if your name is not William Belichick, you're not coming in here and changing anything.
Yeah.
Period. Simple as that.
He said William Belichick.
William H. Belichick.
Man,
you know what though? Hey, real talk. I wouldn't be surprised if this is Belichick's last year coaching the Patriots.
I wouldn't either.
Well, I mean, at some point, yeah, but he'll take the GM role. They'll give him a front office.
No, I think he leaves. I think him and Kraft has a big enough rift because of this Brady situation that he's going to up and leave and go somewhere else where he can be the president, coach for, yeah. Look, do what Purcell's did. Go be a president. Like he already runs the show in New England anyway.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you could have him come in, and then his son is damn near the defensive coordinator there, Steven Belichick. And then he brings Steven along and makes him the head coach somewhere where he shows him all the tricks like he showed Ozzie Newsome when he was in Cleveland.
I can see that. Kind of seems like that shit's kind of running thing over there anyway.
Well, it'll be interesting. And to be honest with you, I can't freaking wait because I am tired of the Patriots, man. I just tired of them.
For real.
And that has nothing to do with the tuck rule. I'm all over that shit, dude. I cannot handle just the Patriots. They're good. I'm gonna give them credit, man. I give credit where credit's due. They're obviously doing it right? But man, I'm just done. I'm ready to move on.
Agreed. Enough is
For
enough.
real. And that's why I thought this Brady to the Raiders talk was kind of like it was out of nowhere, because why would the Raiders pay $30 million a year? That's what it's supposed to be, right? 2 years for 60.
Mm-hmm.
$30 million a year
That makes sense.
for services rendered against them for 20 years. That got started with the rule against them.
Not gonna happen.
He's a depleted player. Like, he's still good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that he's garbage. I'm just saying you saw it last year. Father Time has his own way of revealing himself, right? And you saw the beginning of it, man. It's going to decline every single year. So what you saw Brady last year is going to be less of that in a Gruden offense year one. Just don't make no sense to me. $30 million a year.
Nah, that don't make sense. Never
You got a guy
happened.
like
No
Carr at
weapons.
18, 19, 20 million. Come on.
Exactly.
It's
With
good
no
business,
weapons
dude.
and no defense. He don't have weapons and he don't have defense. What
And
does
I
he
mean,
have
look
in
at it. Maybe you're looking at the marketing side, but I mean, it's gonna be asses in the seats in that stadium anyway.
The best
They're
way
already
to
sold out.
market the
Yeah,
Raiders,
well, I
the
mean-
best way to really market and keep it marketing is what? Win games.
Win games.
Win, baby.
Win games. I don't care if Brady's there, bro.
Gotta win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the name of the show? Will to
Well, you
win.
see-
You know what I mean? Like, let's win. Let's win.
You see, there's reports today, Twitter reports, and I think it was like 630 or 690 or 640 the score out of Chicago that's saying the Bears are trying to trade for Carr.
I would too if I was them.
Who are they going to get?
Trubisky-
Mac and what?
Trubisky.
Mac in the first rounds?
They want to give us Khalil back for him.
Oh, you like that though, huh? There's a pass rush.
Don't get me
I mean,
started.
hey,
with
I'm thinking we can think about something if you want to say that. But nah, man. Honestly, I feel like Carr's the guy. I do.
Yeah, I do too. I've
really
always
do.
felt that way.
Yeah.
You know, I've always felt like
We
it's
talked
been
about that a lot.
untapped. It's been untapped, but it's there.
He's got it between the ears, man. And like I said, with this Gruden offense, you just really got to be able to process things quickly, remember things, and I feel like he's that guy. Like when Derek Carr is on, like some of the passes. What was that? I was watching. I think that was NFL Channel, and his brother was talking about his top 10 passes of the year, and like some of them, man, was just like, I mean, he's slicing butter with a razor blade. And like, come on, man, it's in there. It's in there. It's always been something to halt that consistency, whether it was injuries or reboot on the team, playing for this coordinator and that coordinator. I mean, it takes its toll. I think that we just need to give him his time, allow him to get masterful with it. Because when he's cooking, he's a surgeon.
Well, that's the
Okay.
thing. I think that's
I mean-
the intangible. Real quick, John, I'll let you have the floor. The thing is that like you see the numbers and people talk about the wins and the losses, and you watch all these other quarterbacks in the league. There's not too many quarterbacks that show the moxie and the confidence and the precision he does in fourth quarters and comebacks. Now, you don't want to see your team always having to come back, but
Right.
the fact that he can do that, that kind of tells you what kind of quarterback he not only is, but can be. If you could do that in the fourth quarter with all that pressure on you, when you get the confidence and you trust all the pieces around you and you put that kind of effort for 4 quarters,
Right.
that's what we haven't seen yet, but I think it's coming.
Agreed.
Doesn't he have the most fourth quarter comebacks in the NFL? Like
Since,
fourth
like,
quarter comeback wins the last like 5 years or something like that.
Yes.
Something like that.
Something crazy. But my thought would be this. Okay, let me just throw this what if scenario. The Bears call and say Roquan Smith for Carr straight up.
No.
No way.
Defense wins championship, quarterbacks build dynasties, bro.
We don't have a quarterback. We literally
You can
don't
go
have
get
a quarterback.
a Bridgewater. You can
Nah.
go get a Mariota.
Nah.
You could go get a Tannehill.
Uh-uh.
You could go get
Phillip
Hey,
Rivers.
I'm just
kidding.
They gotta
Come on, man,
learn the
Rivers.
system, man. It's about learning the system. When you come in,
RG3.
you play
I'm
John
just-
Gruden your
I'm
first
just
year, you're
saying.
gonna be trash because you're getting words mixed up. So it's like,
I'm gonna
No
listen
way.
and I'm gonna consider Roquan Smith. That's the one guy on that team.
a linebacker
Honestly,
for your quarterback. Wasn't Derek Carr like 70% last year?
Yep.
And you would give up
74,000.
What you say?
3-to-1 ratio.
70%, yards, 3-1 touchdown ratio.
Come on, man. What's wrong with everybody? How many other quarterbacks?
Hey, you're talking
those numbers.
About not drafting offensive guys for 3 rounds and just taking defense. You want to build a monster defense, you get a monster middle linebacker. I'm doing you a favor.
No, because we can't. Then you're giving up 70%. You're giving up 3-1. What are you giving up 4,000 yards? Which supposedly he did this with nobody. We have no offensive players, right? From what you say, we need to get all the way to the top pick. Skip over your boy from LSU and pick Ruggs right there, Jefferson right there, right? You give everything away, get the top pick in the draft, and pick a wide receiver. That's what Joe wants to do, correct?
No. If I'm going to trade picks, I'm trading all the way up to taking Isaiah Simmons. I've been on him for a minute, and you can't say I haven't. He was like, yeah.
That's the reason why you would do that is because you know that we need that more than we need anything else. And that guy is the best player for our particular needs.
He would be a Kansas City hater, dude, for sure. Bro. Like that's the guy that would be the Kansas City hater.
That's him right there.
I ain't gonna lie.
But it ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. We gotta talk realistically.
Nah, but hey, they could put something together. That could be that you could put something together to move up to 4. I'm gonna go on a limb. I'll say this right now. I think when it's all said and done, Isaiah Simmons will be the best player to come out of this draft. More than Chase Young, more than Burrow, more than any receiver.
Yeah.
You know, he's the guy that to me would be the best player to come out of this draft.
As long as he doesn't end up in the West, I'm cool.
He probably will.
Yeah, that's the way it works, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's how it goes.
You know, you got San Diego up there too. I'm just like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, man. For real. It's probably where it's going.
Battleborn 1 says, what if the Bears offer 2 second-round picks this year and a second rounder next year for Carr?
Again, dude.
Yeah, you don't have a quarterback with that. No.
Like I'm gonna say it like this, and this is why I make my stance, regardless if you like him, love him, hate him, whatever your stance is on Derek Carr. And I've said this, I'm like a broken record, man. Inaugural year in Las Vegas, brand new stadium, brand new fan base. Like we travel well, and Raider Nation's big in Vegas, but there's going to be a whole, like you think of Vegas as like the place where everybody from everywhere just goes just to go, right? There's people that go there just for jobs because of the entertainment and the casinos and all the other options you have there, right? So there's all these fans that are fans of other teams because that's what they grew up on. But you're going to put the Raiders right there. All those fans, those football fans, are going to end up supporting the Raiders and what they're going to bring to the community. So there's a lot of hype, dude. And you guys talked about Golden Knights and what they were able to do. Like, you're going to tell me that you're going to give away that 70%, them 4,000 yards, all for just some draft picks that may or may not work? I believe in Mayock. Mayock's good, but man, sometimes it's a rough call picking players. I wouldn't, not in year one, I would not give up on Carr yet. That'd be stupid business.
I don't believe John Gruden would do that in the first place. This guy knows my offense. Do I really want to give to some other person that doesn't know my offense and give away another year? For what?
If you're done with Carr, you bring someone, you go draft that quarterback with that 12th pick, or you move up and get that quarterback you want. Get the guy that you think is going to be the guy, Gruden grinder, the one that he wants. You get him now, and you let him sit under Carr. Or you get Mariota, like that's what's rumored out there, and you let Mariota just, soak it all in for a year. And if you still feel the same way, you got a Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees type scenario. One of them goes. I mean, at some point, there's going to be some decisions that have to be made because we have a lot of first-round picks. We got a lot of players last year that balled out, and it's going to cost us money down the road. So we have to think about the future in that way, but I wouldn't do it this year.
Mm-hmm.
No, I wouldn't do it.
I think Carr's going to light it up this year personally.
Yeah.
Well, Squeeze, I was going to say to you, like when we were at the Raider event and we were listening to DC talk about the stage and whatnot, how did he sound to you?
Annoyed.
How did he sound to you?
He sounded annoyed. He sounded annoyed. He sounded like somebody who had some kind of assurance that he was the guy going forward. He was appalled that everybody else didn't understand that.
Right.
That's what it sounded like to me. He made it a point to say more than once that he was going to be the guy that was throwing the the first pass in that stadium, the first touchdown. And he wanted to, and he made it a point to say more than once that his last pass he wanted to throw in that stadium. So I think that he's got some assurances from Gruden, regardless of what people have to understand that John Gruden has been a TV star for a long time now. He understands the entertainment side of sports. He understands that the Raiders are a brand. And he understands that he is the biggest name attached to that brand right now. When he speaks, fans of the Raiders and the flow, Raider Nation flow, listens. The Raiders become news when John Gruden speaks or doesn't speak. So, he has a way of manipulating the media and manipulating the cycle because he knows how to do it. He's been in the entertainment business for the last decade or so. So it don't make sense for him to come out and say, "Oh, Derek Carr's my quarterback. I'm not doing." Let people talk. Let them tweet. Let them speculate. It's 2020. You know what I'm saying? So it's all in the marketing. I believe behind closed doors, Derek Carr has been assured that he's the quarterback for the Raiders going forward. That's what I believe. Now, nobody's told me that. I could be completely wrong, but that's my personal belief.
And I also believe too, man, and I know there's some people that actually disagree with me on this, but the minute the season was over, it's a chess game at that point. You start playing chess, you're trying to move pieces, you're trying to make people think you're going to make one move when you're thinking about another. And a lot of the time, these guys don't fall for it. And I get it. Some of these other GMs, they're not stupid. Right. You'd be surprised. Some of them are actually going to be like, but hey, are they serious? Mm-hmm. And they could be causing that friction. They want people, they want to move up, maybe. They want to move back. Sometimes they just want people to jump over them to have that other guy fall to them. It's just a whole chess match. It doesn't mean it's going to work, but you got to play the game.
Right.
I agree. It's chess, not checkers with them. And I think Mayock, over his time as well in the media for over a decade,
exactly.
I think there's a lot of chess. And I think that the one thing that's undersold when it comes to Mike Mayock is the fact that he knows every single one of these GMs.
Yes.
Not just on a personal basis, but he knows how they do business from his time at the NFL Network. He knows what they think, what their tendencies are. Yeah. And that's why he can play it more cool than maybe another GM that want to, even when Gruden said he was sweating bullets about Jacobs not, getting taken by Philly, and Mayock's like, just chill out. Even though he was sweating a little bit himself, just chill out. They're going to take the offensive tackle. They take the offensive tackle, and then they get the running back. And that built more cachet between Gruden and Mayock that it showed, a trust that Gruden didn't have a Reggie McKenzie, to be quite honest.
Right.
And the biggest chess piece that Gruden and Mayock have in today's culture and the way the world is ran today is the media. People like us that are willing to get out on here and be like, blah, 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 all the time, right? Like anything we hear, or it's what they call, and we don't do it. I don't do it. I haven't seen you guys do it, which is clickbait. People use clickbait all the time. Hey, what kind of rumor can we brew up? What kind of thing can we put in our title to get people thinking about whether it's Brady or whether it's Cam Newton or who else are they going to go and trade for? There's bids for Carr. They want that. They want that action. Number one, you're being talked about, so you're in the limelight. That's marketing in itself. And two, you want people to think you're up to something that you're not, because again, it's going to drive the buzz around who jumps in front of you or behind you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what they got to do. I mean, look, they don't have as many draft picks as they did last year,
right?
So the pressure is on them to
get their guys
on these guys.
Yeah,
you got to early on your first round picks. They got to be stars. You're drafting stars in the first round. Your second, third round guys, those are guys that should be Pro Bowlers, and you could get lucky and get a star there. But from the fourth round on, that's the heart and soul of your team. And the Raiders did a great job across the board, adding guys that are a part of the heart and soul of that team, and becoming the heart and soul of that team. They have to continue to do that, and they have less opportunities to do it this year, so they have to turn around, and that's what makes this draft so important to them. speaking of draft, now I know what I've been told, and I've been told that from certain people that they that as of now they're going to reevaluate the draft, and they're going to wait about 3 weeks. But as of a couple of days ago, the plan was initially that they wouldn't have fans there. They would just be media, NFL personnel, with everything going on with the coronavirus. I think what works well for the Raiders, it is 6 weeks out, and they have some time before they can, or really not the Raiders, the NFL. That it's 6 weeks out, and they're going to have some time to make a decision. But would it take any of the luster, or would it take any of the shine off the draft if fans weren't allowed at the draft due to the coronavirus pandemic?
On TV,
I mean,
the TV hype, the city hype.
I mean, the draft has become a big deal.
Yeah,
the draft is it's huge now. It's like it's a big deal. So, and the majority of what makes it such a big deal now is the fan engagement and the different fan activations in the cities where the NFL travels to now. So, I think it's definitely gonna it would have an impact. But I think that we also have to understand that for the foreseeable future, man, this is the new normal for us. It's about just, it's about adapting to it. Crowds, it's just not where it's at right now. It just ain't.
Right.
And I think that we have to be really diligent in listening and paying attention. And we can't act like doctors. You know what I'm saying? We need to listen to what we're told. The experts have told us that they don't have a cure for this thing. They can't get it under wraps. It's going to go out completely out of control. They've also told us that it shouldn't be too bad for the great majority of us, but they told us to stay away from each other. So for a company, a corporation as big as the NFL to be still contemplating, I don't believe that they're still contemplating having fans at the draft. I believe that that's a decision that's been made already. But for the same reason that we were just talking about Gruden and Mayock, this is an entertainment company.
Yep.
So you have to keep your fan base and your customers engaged when there's a work stoppage and a work stoppage that's come down from much higher than you. You got to think about it. With a budget that the NFL has and the NBA has, they have access to the people who are going to give them the answers. They are the NBA is a much better run corporation than the United States of America is. You know what I'm saying? The NFL too. Like they have much better resources at the moment than the country has. So I don't see any type of fan activity or anything happening with the draft. I think it's too close, and I think that's going to be at the time when this thing is probably.
It would take a miracle, man. At this point, I mean, exactly. They're already saying that. I know they keep throwing out there 2 weeks, but I keep hearing 6 months.
Yeah.
I mean, this could drag on for a while. So.
Yeah, it is. It's a virus that's going to have a season, from everything that I hear, just like flu season. And that season is we kind of at the whim of the season until they come up with a vaccine or a cure or whatever.
Right.
So, I think we just got to get used to it for a while, fellas.
Yep. I'm going to say something that's not Raider related, but it goes along with what we're talking about. Rudy Gobert, the center for the Utah Jazz, who's the first athlete to have it and kind of like caused a stir with this and caused the NBA to shut down and suspend play. He's the accidental hero of this whole thing.
Yeah.
He is I don't view him as a GOAT. I view him as an accidental hero because it may, in some people's mind, be no worse than the common flu and not a big deal. But how many lives did Rudy Gobert save by being the person that was the very first coronavirus scapegoat?
Yeah, I mean that's true. I still deal with a lot of people that act like it's not a big deal. Yeah. And I keep telling them, man, like the NBA just don't shut down, dude. Colleges don't just shut down. Disneyland itself just don't shut down.
Yeah, man.
Like, this is real stuff, guys. This is not like billionaires just don't shut down their businesses and say, we'll take the month off and pay my employees, man. Don't worry about it. It's good.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that just don't happen, dude.
Exactly.
And they got a lot of people to answer to, so it's real.
Really. And for me, luckily, I've done music for so long. I've traveled so much. I got so many people in different places that I can call and fact check our news and call and find out what's happening on the ground. Italy was fucking around just like we doing for 3 or 4 weeks when they should have been activated.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of the same thing that's happened here. So now the healthcare system there is overwhelmed, and that's one of the best healthcare systems in the world. Here we have a terrible healthcare system, and we're doing the same type of shit that they was doing. So possibility for this to get, pretty bad for the people that are most at risk. It's a high possibility. So, I mean, for the next couple of weeks, we haven't seen, I don't think, in our lifetime what we have the possibility of seeing. And I just think people getting serious about it will help us get through it.
Get us over it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Billy Bean said it best.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, and I've said it before, people need to stop trying to be doctors, because the doctors don't know about this thing. This thing is new. It's not something that has been around for ages, and they're trying to figure it out. So all of the Facebook doctors and all the conspiracy theorists and all this and that, it's like, man, people don't understand that when they share certain things and when they press certain things, they don't do anything but just spiral things out of more and more out of control. Mm-hmm. So I think that we need to keep a wrap on our opinions about this, listen to the facts, and stay away from each other till this thing stops.
I'm gonna come see you, bro.
Nah, stay where you at.
I'll see
you in June, buddy.
I think Brad Pitt in Moneyball said it best when he was talking with his director of player personnel, and he didn't like the fact, the player personnel director didn't like the fact that they were going to say ball philosophy. And you really believe this? And Brad Pitt looked at him and goes, and that's pretty much where we're at in a literal and figurative, after die. This is going to be the new norm. Does this suck for 30 days or so or more? We're not going to have some type of sport to talk about or watch. Hell yeah. Especially for someone like me, who's a diehard Laker fan, and they were on pace to win the freaking championship, win number 17. Does it suck to not be able to have the full experience of an NFL draft, something I've dreamed about from a selfish standpoint my entire life, going to and being a part of? Hell yeah, potentially, yeah. Not have March Madness and started
a sports company. We just started a sports company.
I was getting to that. And to be able to start a sports outlet, and then this happens, and now we have to figure out new creative ways for content, which which get my staff with all their suggestions, is a tremendous amount of respect, because they're a creative bunch that this is gonna actually, I think it's gonna help ideas in a lot of ways. A lot of great ideas. So I mean, it sucks, but at the same time, this is what we have to go through, and there's nothing that's put on our shoulders that we can't handle. And that's why I think, in general, we have to, again, err on the side of caution. There's no harm in being cautious, but at the same time, Dana White and UFC is going forward with a couple of their matches this weekend, and it's going to be, I believe, at the UFC facility in Summerlin off 215, and it will be pay-per-view, but no fans will be there, just the fighters. He's done things to the beat of his own drum, the course of him owning and being the president of the UFC. I give him credit for doing something that may be against the grain. And if he has the means to protect everybody, God bless him.
That's the key. That's the key. He's in a controlled environment where he can control testing. He can control who comes in and out. It's a little bit different. I think that's a little bit different. Everybody's not afforded the same control over their situation that the UFC is. You know what I'm saying? They got a big time. Their operation is a bit more. You know, they can contain. So I applaud him for it too. Like, keep it moving, give the people something to get their minds off of this, and especially if he can have his guys tested, and he knows that everybody there is not infected or anything. Hey.
And as much as it sucks, man, I just keep thinking of a day where 6 to 10 months from now, we're all back on here, right here, talking like we are now. We're still talking sports.
Man, you know what? I'm hoping it's faster than that.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to be a little bit more realistic about it. I mean, I like to say tomorrow, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
I don't want
to. You know what though? The same thing. I feel like it's gonna get us through it. Like, we the human race, man. We're capable of a lot. It's a lot of minds out there, and it's no telling when that vaccine will show up. They're saying a year from now. They're saying this. But you never know.
You never know. And they're gonna have to be forced to produce it earlier too.
Right.
And with that,
did you guys see that in June? Well, I'm gonna say last thing for me. In June is a big date for Allegiant Stadium. Not July 29th, the first game UNLV in Cal comes down. But in June, all the toilets are going to be flushed at the same time at Allegiant Stadium to make sure the piping works. Mick Akers,
oh my gosh.
Mick Akers tweeted that out today.
Sweet.
And we need to make sure that we put Kansas City toilet paper in there, Denver toilet paper in there, and some Charger toilet paper up in there too. Make sure it all goes down real nice.
I love it.
Now, with that said, guys, I could do this all night, but I want to make sure that people come back and watch the replay of this. If we go too long, they might not want to watch 3 hours of us just shooting the shit. But we got free agency coming out. I know we got nothing concrete yet, but what is our tentative plan moving forward this weekend into next week? What are some of the things that we could let everybody know to go check out Franchise? Keep an eye out on this channel. We're going to try to link them together. So all the information's going, Raider information anyway, will be flowing through Wheel to Win, Franchise Media, all of it. So everybody can get in, get used to the flow. But what is our tentative plan moving forward for this next week?
Well, for the first day of free agency, the first few days, I'll be knocking out a podcast. So there'll be podcast recaps depending on the type of signing. If it's somebody big, there may be an emergency podcast where it may only be 15 or 20 minutes, but it'll be done and you'll have some insight and we'll see who we can get on. There'll be lots of coverage as far as writing with people that are whomever it is that gets signed. I'll be writing. Terrence Smith, who covers the Raiders for us, will also be writing. Nice Sean will be actually out in the street for some Raider events this upcoming week. Raiders in the court. No, I take that back. They got canceled, but Raiders were in the community. Nice Sean was going to be out doing some Raiders in the community stuff. That comes about, and then another Will to Win. Jump on, recap the big free agent signings, and hopefully we'll have some type of clarity getting with the draft. And I'll be having some mock drafts soon. TQ and I will probably end up doing a mock draft podcast to inside of media podcast, which is always entertaining. Normally we're together when we do it, and there's wine or beer or something between us, and it's always entertaining. But this time it may have to be via this just until this pandemic ties down. But at the end of the day, a lot of this Raider coverage, that's what we're going to bring. That's what we have been bringing. I'm gonna be going a lot of podcasts. Yeah, I'm gonna be going back to the old days with some articles. I had planned on running around getting a lot of ex-Raider interviews, but the travel situation is kind of switching that up. So a lot of them will be written, but I have a lot of contacts with ex-Raiders who are going to give us some stories about playing for the Silver and Black back in the 80s, early 90s, early 2000s. So a lot of that will be coming over the next couple of months too.
Nice. So like my plan, obviously. Go ahead.
And I'll say we'll see too in terms of guys like Brandon Marshall, who was just with the Raiders last year, doing some stuff with us, and other Raiders that'll come on board and do some interviews during some podcasts.
Yeah, and I'll make sure that when things really pick up, I'll be on here daily for sure, either recapping or if it's something real big, we'll report it. I'll have the phone lines open so you guys could be, the fans could be heard too. You guys got to call in, get your thoughts out there. Anytime that we could, come on live and get your guys' information and help fuel the fire, we're up for it. So, it's gonna be a lot of coverage this next week for sure. Moving forward, Wednesday nights will be the night the Will to Win airs every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But this next week, it'll probably be a daily show recapping what's going on in free agency.
Yay.
So with that being said, let's go ahead and get our final words. Joe, what you got?
Hug your kids a little longer, love them a little harder, and just appreciate everybody a little bit more with everything we're going through. And let's strap up, Raider Nation. Let's get ready to go and get on this journey at the Death Star, which is looking mighty fine right now. Nice. And let's get ready to rock and roll.
Absolutely. TQ?
I just want everybody, all the Raider Nation, man, the whole human race, take this virus seriously. It's not a joke. Everybody stay safe. Please understand that our age, this age group, the 30s, the 40s, 20s, we are a threat to our grandparents and our parents and the elderly and any people in our family that may have, any type of autoimmune disease, lupus or diabetes. Yeah. Just make sure that we try to stay away from them. Let's not go into panic and just pay attention to the authorities. Listen to the rules. Something like this that's going on. We need to try to play our part as much as we can to mitigate. We want to slow down the spread of this thing. We don't want to overwhelm our health system because that'll be some historic badness. All right. So everybody stay safe. Love y'all. And we'll get through it. We get through it. We always do.
Amen, man. And I want to thank you both very much for the opportunity. I can't wait to work with you guys, man. Put out some content.
Yes,
do
sir.
Some Raider talk, man, and just grow as brothers. Everybody be safe, man. It's talking about autoimmune. I have an autoimmune disorder. I have Crohn's. I take shots that lower my immune system. So this means a little bit more to me than maybe some other people out there. And I also have a very sick wife. So her immune system's low. So, man, just keep your hands washed, keep out of public, and make sure, as always, to stay Raider strong. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.